Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the WZAA Morning Zoo. Charlie Hargrave is your host. I'm Rick Phillips. My wife, Sydney Alexis, she's also at the table. We're waiting for Kim to make her entrance, but we're just ramping everything up now. We're over the air on WZAA 106.9 LPFM in Jeffersonville, Ohio. We are over the air on YouTube. You can go to our website, WZAA LPFM, and actually watch our stream and see us live on the air. And we're also on Facebook Live. Charlie, we're on your Facebook Live page. Is that right? So it's, what is it, Charlie Hargrave or Chaz's DJ? Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, Charlie has been doing this now for 20 years, and he still hasn't figured it out, huh? Oh, okay. All right. So, all right. So everybody, we're up and we're.
You can't turn your phone while you're recording.
Yeah. So that makes sense. So we're not live on Facebook yet.
Yeah, but we're going to go off of Facebook here.
All right, so you're going to go off, you're going to go back on. I'm going to go out and make sure that our stream is going. So Sydney, do you want to talk so that I can make sure? All right, Charlie, you pick up a microphone. I'm going to go out and check to make sure we're live over the air on the automobile.
Good morning, everybody. How is everybody today? We are trying to get our Facebook Live up. So if you want to watch us, too, you can watch us right there on my Facebook Live, Charlie Hargrave on Facebook. And I was going to try to put some other stuff, but I think I will just try to. There's Kim. She's getting her instructions as she walks in here. No, you're over there. I won't be between the ladies today. There we go. That's right. I think we're not sideways now. Are we sideways yet? Yeah, you'll have to restart it. Technology, folks. Gotta love it, don't you? Gotta love it. So yeah, we're live on my Facebook, Charlie Hargrave. We're live on WZAA 106.9. We have Rick Phillips, Sydney Phillips in today, and the one, the only, Kim Michael. Kim Michael is in the house. We're not sideways anymore, so that's a good thing. That is an excellent thing. Well, what a difference a week makes, folks, you know? Last week we were all coronaing, and now all the coronaing, they don't seem to care. It's okay not to wear a face mask in a riot.
Well, you
yeah,
wear a face mask at a riot to protect your identity.
yeah, I guess that's two purposes then.
Oh, but see, that can't be illegal because they're telling you to do it. So
Oh, that's
they set
true.
themselves up.
That's true. But also, you
Why
know,
have we not heard about any bank robberies? Why have we not heard about any you holding up?
how about your mic? Hold that mic right there, baby. There you go. There you go. Yeah. Yeah, you got to turn it on first. The mic.
You act like you've not ever done this before.
It's been a while.
It's
You got to
okay.
admit, it's been a while.
Well, it's been a week.
Yeah, it's been a week, but yeah, we were doing it every day. I mean, I've opened and shut
Yeah,
car doors.
I could see us getting Kim in here every day.
I've opened and shut car doors for 50 years and shut my finger in a car door for the first time this morning. Isn't that nice? See my little bruise?
Oh, I do.
I couldn't get the stupid car door open.
So was it your thumb or was it your finger?
No, it's my finger right there. My
All
little
right.
finger.
Okay. So
Luckily, I've
Sydney, you can see what people are
some diabetes.
cussing
there,
at us and
so,
saying.
Good morning, Kevin. Hey, JJ. Is
You
it
guys
fixed
hear us
now?
okay?
Can you guys see us?
Right.
They can see us as much as they want. You
I-
know.
Well, she said, why is it all green? Is it still green?
Oh, no, the green screen. You're catching some of the green screen behind us, the way Charlie has it. We have a green screen. If you don't know what a green screen is, we can project things onto the green screen. So if you're standing in front of it, for instance, when you see like a weather map and they're really standing in front of a green screen like that, the weather map is projected on the green screen, and then the person is projected in front of the green screen. But we've done several things. If you go to, if you look on our WZAA LPFM page, I think under the tele-shopping TV section, you can see something that we recorded in what appears to be a kitchen, but really it's in front of our green screen. So the lady that's there and she's doing some, what is she, trimming vegetables or whatever?
She's chopping vegetables, peeling vegetables.
Right, so the vegetables and
She
her,
appears to be in a kitchen, but it's actually she's just standing in front of one of these green screens.
right, so the table and everything is in front of the green screen, and you can see that's in the foreground, but the kitchen is in the background. So we've just told you now why we have these green screens. We've got one on each side of this studio, so there's another one on the other side.
So we can do a Tupperware party now.
That's right. You could do, well, actually,
Speaking of which, I am doing a Tupperware party.
we heard that. I am hoping, that we're going to start doing our live sales show in July after the 4th. So we'll be doing, selling all kinds of
Face masks,
odd items.
rubber gloves.
That's right. Yeah. Or I don't think we don't have the right licensing to sell guns and ammo. So
Not yet.
we don't know what we're going to need.
Not yet. I had a guy make an interesting point. Menards are supposed to wear a face mask.
You're supposed to, yeah.
Yeah, when you go into Menards, they require you to wear a face mask.
Require.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
require.
you have to wear a face
but
mask.
he brought up a good point. He said, next
Well,
time
you
I
don't
go to
have to be
Menards, I'm not going to wear it. I'm going to go right to their desk, front desk, and say, hey, you're asking me to break the law. And he's going to show him his gun he's carrying.
That's exactly what he should do.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Does
You
Menards
can't go in.
Shock and awe.
Yeah, Menards is gun friendly.
are they?
Yeah. So they're asking him to break the law if
You having a problem with your?
if he goes in there and
It's a Mac. That's the reason.
oh jeez, if he goes in there and has his mask on his gun, he can't do it. So what do you think of that? Anyhow,
I think they're asking for trouble.
well, I tell you what, I've got a question for everybody.
All right,
George, I just said his first name. What's his last name?
Floyd. I don't know.
Yeah, you're right.
Ford.
George
It's Ford.
Floyd. No, George Floyd.
Is it
You're right.
Floyd?
And he's
Floyd,
been
I
the
don't know.
story this week. The gentleman in Minnesota that had the knee to the neck.
Yes.
But one thing I will say about this: have you guys seen the other picture looking at the front of that car?
I know there's been some, we'll call it conspiracy theories that.
These are-
First of all, one of
These
the things.
are live video.
One of the things that was confirmed is the fact that Floyd, along with the officer that had his knee supposedly on his neck, where
they
you
knew
see
each other.
they worked together in a nightclub, I guess, there in Minneapolis. So they actually were fellow employees, so they knew each other.
Well, but one thing that was interesting, and for some reason, I don't know why this other picture hasn't been out there more, but they have a person that was shooting video from the front of the car, not the side where you see just the policeman on the guy's neck, but like it would be like from the other side, like the driver's side in front, if that makes sense. Anyhow, have you seen that video?
No, I have not.
They got the guy with the knee on the neck, but yet there's two more police officers with their knees on his back and legs. So it's not just one person kneeling on him. There's three of them right there. Three police officers.
Well, you know, they
kneeling
performed
on
an autopsy, the official autopsy, or when I say official, it was the government autopsy, and they said that basically he was high on fentanyl and that he also had heart problems. So they were basically saying that, yes, part of the reason that he died was the fact that it was a combination of the drugs that were in his system and also the fact that, but they said that he actually didn't die of asphyxiation.
But the second one did.
But the second autopsy that was performed by, I don't know what to call him. He's a well-known.
His last name's Biden or Biden. It's like
Yeah,
Biden,
he does a lot of celebrity stuff when it comes to testifying and that kind of stuff. He's brought in, but anyway, he said that he died of asphyxiation, both from blood flowing from his neck was compressed, and also his back. So that may lend itself to the other person that had a knee in his back. But he's not the only police officer this week that has been caught putting their knee on a person's neck that they have subdued.
Yeah.
There was another officer, and I think there were even some other officers that pulled an officer off someone that had been subdued that also had their knee. So they're saying this is not normal for police training, but it seems like it's effective and they use it, whether it's legal or not, or whether it's a taught practice. They've learned it, let's say that.
How about that?
I
Yes.
talked to a friend of mine with the sheriff's department this week, and I'm not going to mention him because just out of his privacy, but he said, we train people all the time. He said, that, as far as holds and techniques, and he said, that is not one of them. He said, that was awful what that guy did. And and the guy knew better. See, the police officer, too, I guess, has a troubled past. He has had several times.
He said like 18 different. He was brought up 18 different times.
But I don't think he was ever
From
convicted.
IA?
He was
Internal affairs?
investigated. He was investigated 18 or had 18 different incidences in his folder. So this wasn't the first.
That'd be a big red flag waving, wouldn't you think?
Well, yeah, but you see, once again, this is where sometimes unions are too powerful. The police union being one, but when unions can literally prevent people that are bad from continuing their job, I'm talking whether you're talking about police unions, any kind of union, when people stay in their positions, when they're not doing their job and they're allowed to stay there simply because a union steps in and protects them, then they're doing us a disservice, and so, and I'm not anti-union. I mean, I grew up, in a family. My father worked for General Motors, and so, he was union, and he was a Democrat. And so the only thing I can say is that we need certain protections, and unions help to do that. But at the same time, just like everything else, it has to be a balance, and we're not seeing that. That's why these, and when I say bad cops, let's face it, the majority of the police officers that are out there do protect and they serve, and they do good jobs, but there are also some bad apples, just like
One rotten apple can ruin the whole barrel.
I mean, I think we see that in every profession. And I mean, just think about like doctors. I mean, they could get away with murder all the time. I mean,
And oops.
yeah.
It's an oops. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I've got the dumb question of the day here because I'll be honest with you, I've had so much just going on in my personal life. I haven't followed this like I should. But George Floyd, what did he do? Why was he being arrested to begin with?
Well, from what I had heard, they were investigating an incident of some type of fraud. I'm not sure whether it was. It wasn't.
Yes, it was a white collar crime. Whatever
it
was.
wasn't.
You're right.
It wasn't a bad check. I think they
It was fraud of some
they
sort.
categorized it more as.
Was it counterfeit money?
No, it wasn't counterfeit money. I think once again it wasn't a bad check, but it was something along those lines where he had tried to pass something that, and I've not investigated what they were originally called for, and furthermore, it was never established whether he actually was the person that was guilty of whatever they were investigating, or at least they were coming, to.
He never got to be questioned.
Well, yeah, and so well, none of that has actually come out. So what they focused on is probably what's the most sensational part of it, and that's his death.
Yeah.
Counterfeit $20 bill. Yeah,
Is what
Larry
someone
Ford. That's
writes.
what I heard too.
All right.
Me and that girl have the same brain. I was just getting on Google to find out what.
Oh, okay.
Same brain.
You and which girl?
Yeah.
Oh, this girl.
you
You're
better
talking
watch
about my
out.
wife?
Yes. You better watch out.
Larry Flory, how you doing? Hey guys, if those of you watching on
Sorry,
Facebook
I had to
Live,
restart the computer.
Share
We
the
had some
show.
lag going.
share the show if you don't mind sharing the show. Last week we ended up having about 2,600 views, I think.
Yeah, we got
So,
about
Nice.
2,600 people watching.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, And we need to share the show today.
Well, we don't have quite the star power this week that we did last week because Bill Mahanes isn't here, and
you and
and the
Sunny
heat
did.
wave isn't here. Well, we were there. We were there the second half.
Yeah, but
although
you
looking
guys-
at the trends, the numbers did start to peak in the second half of the show.
That's what I'm saying. See, that's why I said let's forward to it. All right, so either counterfeit 20 or it might have been something else going on.
You also
See,
noticed that Kimmy and I are
on
at
opposite
the
ends.
opposite
Opposite
ends.
ends of the spectrum.
Sydney and I are the barrier. That's what's going on here.
Gosh.
All right, so we're going to riot now. We're going to peaceful protests are fine. I don't mind
What about
that.
gatherings?
We're all
you know,
for peaceful protest. I
Are-
mean,
are
I'm not
gatherings
against
banned?
peaceful protest.
No.
in the name of safety here and all. Gatherings of all these people. We're not
Well-
supposed to do that in social distancing.
I'm not against the protest.
Where's all the arrests there? They could have arrested them all right there just for not social
Does anybody not
distancing.
see that 6 feet apart makes somebody a really nice target to pick off? Does that not?
I don't know. First of all,
true.
even the 6 feet is not correct because they're saying this is coming out of Europe, and
6
and they said 3 is the maximum amount of footage that you-
3?
yeah. But once again, 1 week it's 3, the next week it's 6, the next week it might be 12.
yeah,
1 week it
information is
doesn't
always changing.
transmit on flat surfaces. The next week it does. So is it really? Is any of it really true, or is it the fact that it's not a perfect science, or is it just the fact that this is all to add to the confusion?
There you have it.
And of course, there's a lot of things that sort of disappeared when all this came about.
Todd Blocker just said
Talk
that,
about
yeah.
Bernie. Where'd Bernie go?
Well, Bernie's been gone for a long
Well, I
time.
mean, even they were supposed to be starting to do more investigations on Obamagate and the things that were going on during. So I mean, this is all
Wait, don't be shaking your head.
Obamagate.
I'm going to tell you what.
You gotta
No,
have to-
don't even go, because I'm
you
going to
have
tell
to
you,
stop
Richard
for me. I
Nixon.
don't know.
Richard Nixon didn't do 1/10 of what Obama's done here in his last.
Well,
he
there's-
wouldn't
while he
release
was
some
in office.
tapes and then he resigned.
yeah,
Right, and you know what? Obama, if he'd have done this during his presidency, he'd resign. I'm going to tell you what,
Well,
folks,
probably would have been impeached.
There's going to be, I think, some treason charges come out of this.
I don't know.
I think there's going to be some
I don't
treason
know what
charges.
you're talking about.
I don't have any. You don't know what we're talking about.
No, what
we're,
do you-
we're talking about the
Obamagate.
attempt by the Obama administration during the transition to the Trump administration to spy on the Trump campaign, to be able to provide information to the Hillary Clinton campaign. They literally had bugs in the White House. They were tapping lines, all that kind of stuff. And
But doesn't the
they
Patriot
were
Act
also
give
leaking.
them the right to do that?
The Patriot Act give who the right?
Anyone the right to wiretap to all of it in the name of national
Are you talking about
security.
the FISA court?
I'm talking about at 9/11 that came in the rise of that.
The FISA court was approached about their concerns that there might be some spying, Russian intervention, and all that, which was all totally fabricated and made
The
up.
Russians again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Susan Rice has just come out recently and said now that she believes that this entire the rioting and all that has been supported by the Russians. So this is Susan Rice, who was in the Obama administration and was, our
They lied
United.
so much. And don't you remember when Benghazi happened? Oh, it's all about this video.
Yeah, when in
Susan
fact it was
Rice hit
because
the-
they were covering up the fact that we were selling Stinger missiles to keep the war going on in Syria and that. And in fact, there was some thought that Hillary Clinton had been involved because she was supposedly over there and had been downed in a helicopter. Remember when she had the head problem? Yeah. And so, of course, I don't know for sure, but I mean, there's a lot of things. Sydney.
General Flynn alone, all the unmasking and the way they.
Oh, that was totally illegal.
And the way they've tried to set him up, plus, Susan Rice's letter. The 20 minutes after Trump became president.
Well, that was to cover her butt. That was to cover
Rice's
Obama's butt.
letter, yeah, try to cover everybody's butt.
Right.
There was the, hello, yes, we're guilty, but no, we did everything right. You know, I mean, you can see right through
Well,
it. They should, I'll be honest with you, the guy, the Attorney General Barr, He's going to get some people.
Well,
There's some people going to fall.
here's because I've talked extensively about this, but I think that probably, first of all, they're not going to touch Barack Obama. They're not going to touch probably Hillary Clinton. They're not going to touch any high-level government official. They may get some low-level fruit that will be sacrificial lambs.
Comey?
Yes.
Comey could be possible.
I think
Brennan is not going. I don't think.
I think Brennan is definitely in.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's no question he's a communist and he lied.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that, any way you look at it, I don't think that he's going to be touched. There are certain people that they just won't go after, and
why? They
because people on the other side, on the right side, on the R's, are just as guilty. When you talk about the funding of paying people off because of the sex, abuse and that for pages in the government and people that work on staff, it's on both sides of the fence. It's not just on one. Let's just face it. When people go to Washington, D.C., or for that matter, local officials, anyone that gets any kind of power becomes corrupted very quickly. That's just the nature of us as human beings.
Can I say a name? Amy Acton.
Yeah,
Anybody gets any kind of power, but I tell you what, she is just ruining people. Right
well,
she was put in power by Mr. Obama, was she not?
Well, no, she was an activist during the Obama campaign, and so she's very left, but she is now the health.
she needs to be gone.
Yeah, who is
She needs to be
tapped
gone
by
a month
Obama.
ago.
Well, let's face it. They have done everything in their power, whether you like Donald Trump or not. They've done everything in their power from the time that he actually won the nomination to up to today to try to take him down. And the best of the best have tried it, and they have failed. And so this virus, I'm not going to say that it was totally concocted and released and everything, once again, to add to taking Donald Trump down, but it certainly has been capitalized on and blown out of proportion by the news
I have no
media.
doubt that there's a virus, no doubt whatsoever, but I do not believe it's on the level
I
of
think
the
it's
numbers.
a flu.
A
Yeah.
glorified flu.
I think that we've looked back and we can see that.
Some of us probably already even have had it.
Oh, no question about
I
that.
would
I think
say
a lot of people
definitely.
had it last year.
Yeah.
So they took advantage of this virus and they blew it out of proportion. Once again, trying to crash the economy because that's the real strength.
Fear mongering.
And that's the real strength of Donald Trump is how he turned the economy around. And the other problem that you've got now is we've got the situation that they now are once again blowing out of proportion. I'm not saying that it's not wrong what happened to
Well, let's take a quick poll on that, because I think we're all going to be in agreement. How many people believe the police officer should be charged with something?
well, absolutely,
everybody.
absolutely.
Everybody.
To the
the
fullest
whole,
extent of the law. I mean,
yes.
what he did was
The
wrong.
man begged for
Yeah.
his life.
I mean, everybody.
I don't
knows
think
that.
it
can't
it
breathe.
doesn't rise to first degree murder because it wasn't something that was
Well,
premeditated.
It wasn't a violent crime that he committed.
Yeah, but
know?
what I'm saying is, as far as the
Minnesota
death,
law,
the
no,
death
it's
of it,
Unnecessary force.
yeah, well, there's no question it was unnecessary force. So, whatever it falls under, he may not be charged as though he plotted it and
No, but
perpetrated
I
it.
would say involuntary manslaughter.
No question, no question about that.
They've charged him with murder 3 and involuntary.
I mean, it would be the same thing if you were, let's say, drinking and you got into a car and you killed someone.
Didn't mean to do it, but you did it anyway.
Yeah. So there's no question that what he did was reckless and it involved,
It
taking
wasn't
someone's life.
premeditated,
No,
but it
no.
definitely happened. He still killed
Absolutely.
someone.
Well,
He killed
you know
someone.
what? Now, I'm going to play devil's advocate here for a minute, because,
You're going to go back to the nightclub?
Because I don't feel
No.
like the policeman's life was in danger. You see what I'm
well,
saying?
but, I'm talking about premeditation. Here's the deal. How many minutes do you have to have your knee on somebody's neck? And how many cries do you have to hear to know what you're doing is killing somebody, but you still do it anyway?
Well, I don't know because they said that
what I mean?
they said that his knee was on his neck about 6 minutes. But the point is, what person that has ever been restrained by the police doesn't cry about
Also
one thing
true.
or the other? So,
But
they've probably heard that a dozen times.
why didn't they
That
just
6 minutes is an awfully long
why
time.
didn't they just hog time?
Yeah,
There's 4
hog
police
time.
Well, no,
officers.
I thought that he was already handcuffed behind his back. That was
believe
that was
so.
what
I
made
believe
it more
this man was
egregious.
handcuffed
Was
and
the
then
fact
tried
that
it, yes.
if someone is on the ground and they're handcuffed, even if they try to resist, you don't
I mean, how
have
can
to.
they really
you don't have
get
to go
away
to
from
excessive
it? I
force.
mean,
There's not.
They're surrounded by police
Yes.
officers.
Yeah, but
and
once
on the
again,
ground.
I don't believe that this was a level of any kind of what we'll call hate crime, which I don't believe hate
Oh,
crimes
no,
exist.
I don't think it was a hate crime.
So I think that, it's like a lot of things. You murder someone, you're charged with 6 different types of murder because they want one to stick. They want you to plea bargain to one. Well, it's the same thing with hate crime. I mean, to be able to jack it up to double the time in prison, if you're already going to prison for life, what good does
your
it do
life's
if you're
not
doing
gonna get
3
any
life
longer.
sentences?
Well, actually, to be honest with you, if that guy goes to any kind of prison where
He's
around
probably
like-
going to get murdered in
Yeah.
prison
Oh, my.
shortly
Well,
after
no,
arrival.
he'll be in solitary
Solitary is
confinement.
exactly- that's the only way
I mean, he's still going to
Well,
get shanked
so-
at some point,
so
but
are a
let's
lot
just
of-
be honest.
So are a lot of
I have
people
to
that
agree
died.
with you.
Well, that's true, but
He's still gonna get
Epstein
shanked.
didn't kill himself either.
Yeah,
I think
Still
so.
going to get shanked.
it's going to happen.
No, and it's funny you brought that up because Epstein.
Well, that completely
Oh, my God, I
disappeared.
was just thinking about that. Did you watch that special on
I
him?
watched the Netflix special, and I tell you
Oh,
what.
mine was on ID.
Well, you need to watch the Netflix one.
I don't have Netflix.
Well,
I gotta pay for that stuff.
Yeah, but it's worth it. I'm gonna tell you.
Well,
I'm
are they
lucky, I
two
want
different?
everything for
Are they
free.
2 different specials?
Netflix, yeah, Netflix has a 4-part series on it. And I'm telling you what, this guy got away with everything.
Yes.
Well, why did he?
Yes.
It's because the people that he entertained
Yes, the people he
were
knew.
very powerful people in
Oh,
very
my.
high
Well,
places.
Yeah,
Oh, my.
in the
So-
Netflix special, you see him a couple times with Donald Trump. You see him a couple times with Bill Clinton. And Bill Clinton's funny because there's pictures of him down there on Epstein's private island.
Yeah.
And Bill Clinton says, "Oh, I never went to the private island." They've got all these logs, and this goes back to the Q stuff.
Right.
They've got these logs of everybody that has been there, and it's a who's who of Hollywood. Tom Hanks. I mean,
Well, what
there's a lot of
surprises
singers.
me is this.
I mean, they
what's
had
her,
pictures of
is her name
Hillary was
Gazelle or
there.
what's the name of the lady that it was his confidant or whatever on the island
Oh.
there? Anyway, I'm surprised she's still alive
Well, and you know what?
because she knows everything.
She does, and she's in
Money
hiding.
probably has something to do
She
with
has all the
reason that
dirt.
She's
still alive.
disappeared mysteriously.
yeah.
She's in hiding.
Into
just-
the
But they-
And
wind.
she's been
Wait.
paid a lot of money to go hide. I
You
think.
watch that special, they don't need her because they've got all these girls that are willing to testify. They've
Yeah.
got they've got all these staff that they can.
Yeah.
The dude got away. I mean, he served one short, like 10-month sentence in Florida for prostitution, but his jail was. He was allowed out to work during the day and had to go sleep. at
I
night
thought
in
he
jail.
also was able to get conjugal visits. So
might have
I
been.
thought there were young ladies that were brought into his
Well, during
into his cell.
during the day in his office.
Yeah.
Yeah, in his office during the day. Yeah, he can do whatever he wants.
I heard
Yeah.
some of the testimony of the girls too. That have them on tape.
You need
Yeah.
to watch Netflix.
Well,
you need to find somebody that hasn't watched it.
But
'cause
of
it's-
course, all that has just totally gone away, and the investigation probably won't be revived after all the
Well, since he's
pandemics
dead.
and yeah.
Yeah.
So
But those girls ought to go after his estate.
Yeah.
yeah, and I know he owns a lot of different properties, including the island. But
Oh,
they
yeah.
even said that they had thought that there were like bodies in the water that had been sunk around the island, of people that maybe shouldn't have
None
made
of
it.
that was ever mentioned in the Netflix thing. The main thing was his
doubt it.
house in Palm Beach. That Palm Beach police had him. And see, what's funny is the guy that was the Secretary of Labor who resigned was the prosecutor down there. That's why he resigned, because he didn't do a very good job on Epstein. There were some deals made. Because the Palm Beach police chief was like, he was beside himself, because they had a list of charges, 2 or 3 foot long on him. And they got him for one charge. I mean, the guy just balled himself out. Of
Well,
everything.
it's not just bought. I mean, if you've got all these famous people, all
You
these
can
powerful
blackmail
people,
all these other people,
sure.
basically.
I mean, it's been said just recently with so many of the Roberts rulings where he's joined the liberals, and just this last ruling where he was going to allow them to continue to impose sanctions on churches so that they couldn't open. So he went to the left side there and voted with them. On some very important rulings, he's become a leftist, and it's been assumed that they either have something on him or they're threatening him or his family because it's contrary to his nature as far as of being supposedly conservative.
Yeah.
Although he was appointed by George Bush, and let's face it, George Bush was part of the deep state. George Bush was a socialist, and so George Bush probably appointed him knowing that he was also a deep statist as well. Are we getting any comments there in the audience that we need to address?
David Hiles.
Netflix is the Obama network. That's one of the comments.
Well,
That's true.
I guess to a certain extent, because they,
They do have a whole series on Obama, I believe.
But, even Bill Gates was seen with Epstein. Now, just because you were seen in a picture with Epstein doesn't mean that you were doing something. But if you were on the island or you were on his plane making trips to the island, then you'd have to assume that you were probably not going there just for the...
Prince William was the big one.
Yeah, and of course, he quickly disappeared out of the royal entourage.
Yeah, Prince William.
Yeah, but I mean, the royals don't want the attention. Although they love the attention, they act as though they don't want.
They don't want negative attention.
Yeah, well, definitely don't want negative attention.
No.
So,
No. So, George Floyd will agree that, the policeman deserves some kind of punishment out of that, definitely. And we figured out that, he was either passing counterfeit money or possibly had something else going on.
Yeah, it didn't warrant losing his life, that's for sure.
But the other interesting fact, and you'd like to know if there's a history between the two, the policeman knew him. So
well, that's the other thing. Did they have a problem working together, and was that some of the reason that maybe he was restrained, and eventually perished? Was it that they had bad blood between them? Right. By the way, you're listening to WZAA 106.9 LPFM in Jeffersonville, Ohio, the Morning Zoo with Charlie Hargrave, and we're the animals, I guess, the crew.
That's right, the zoo. I'm the ringmaster here. That's right, the circus. Well, let's get to, since we're talking about circuses, let's get back now to the looting and all that. Now,
did you see Times Square this morning?
No.
Oh my gosh, you would not recognize it. It is absolutely destroyed.
Cleveland is destroyed.
Really?
Youngstown's crazy. Mm-hmm.
St. Louis is in flames.
Philadelphia.
Yeah, Philadelphia the other day. Now, one thing I was watching, because my entertainment each night used to be IMDb TV. We watch
IMDb.
Yeah, IMDb. Revenge. We're watching the Revenge series now. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but anyway. But the last few nights I've been watching the riots, and I'll flip from one riot to the next.
Yeah.
Just to check up. We were watching. Oh, it was incredible down in Tampa what they were doing the other day, and there was this AT&T store, and it was like ants. They were just, and all these cars kept coming in, and because it's like they, I don't know whether they're on radios to each other or their phones or whatever, and hey Charlie, come on down to the AT&T store.
It's like they smashed in the windows.
The doors are open, and then there was down the road there was a jewelry store, and they had those metal roll down doors to protect the front of their store and their glass.
Yep.
And they literally, there were probably 9 or 10 of them, and they were pulling that door up, and they broke the window to the bottom half of the door, and they were going in underneath that.
Wow.
Of course, everything's in a safe, I would imagine. I don't know, maybe the cheap jewelry isn't, but the bottom line is the looting. I mean, there's no excuse for the destruction of private property and the things that they've been doing.
Lighting apartment buildings on fire. I mean, you're destroying people's homes. Mm-hmm. The small businesses that are just beginning to reopen.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people's livelihoods.
So this is going to turn everybody against their cause. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, you're not going to remember. It's like I had to write down George Floyd's name because I couldn't remember it.
I mean, you took a cause that unified everyone together. I think everyone in America could agree that it was wrong for this officer or group of officers to wrongfully murder this man in cold blood.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right.
Unifying everyone on one injustice.
Yep.
And then turned it completely upside down into something completely wrong. Violence does not justify more violence.
Yeah.
You cannot correct a wrong by committing more wrongs.
Well, and unfortunately, I don't think that most of the people that protest, the people that were going, for instance, to downtown Columbus, or the people, those people were not going with the intent to loot or to pillage or to plunder.
Right.
They were going because they supported, what people were, what people were protesting
The
for.
way I understand it, there's been two groups, though. There you have the protesters during the day with their arms up and, no peace or whatever and all that. And that's fine. But then they leave. They actually are the law-abiding citizens, most of them. And then you have this other group. And a friend of mine put on Facebook, and you always see this when these riots happen, it was just a letter. It said, how to riot.
Yeah, it was passed. Well, here's what they said about Antifa. Okay, because Antifa, Donald Trump has labeled them now officially as a domestic terrorist group. So that gives them a little bit more of an option as to how they deal with someone that might be rioting or looting. They may just disappear because Guantanamo is a pretty big place. So, they may end up with my favorite sport, waterboarding them or something. But, and I don't care. More power to them. But the bottom line is the way that Antifa works, their plan or the way that they teach, there are three waves. The first wave are the protesters that are there to protest, and they are sort of their front guys. And most of them are dupes. They go there because they believe in the cause and they support, the injustice, and they're there, their hearts are good, okay? They're not there to cause, destruction in them. Okay, then there are, and I've watched this, and if you watch the crowds, you'll see the same thing. Then there is the agitator. For instance, a black woman in Columbus was right up in the face of a black cop saying, you're on the wrong side of you should be over here, not over there. And she's going to these police officers right up along the front of the line, getting in their face and just agitating. The third wave are the people that you'll notice have a backpack. They'll have
really
a
fancy,
very expensive gas mask.
backpacks.
They will have a very expensive camera. These are the people that are actually throwing the bottles and throwing the bricks and they're the ones that are really there to do the destruction. And typically, the time that they kick in is, as you say, Charlie, as it gets later. So
around the curfew time.
And they're or the cover
sure
darkness.
That all of this violence actually starts. And I think they're really getting the other people that are around into the group thinking mentality, and as they start the violence, they get other people to join in on it
Some
that weren't
people.
even thinking of doing the violence,
Not everyone.
And they get into
Not
this
everyone.
group thinking mentality, and they're just like, okay, well, everybody else is doing it, so I'll just join along and doing it too.
Yeah.
That's what I have, that gregarious cheap.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's
Follow.
a known human trait that, when you are in a group of people, you lose your identity. When you lose your identity, it's much easier to do things that you normally wouldn't do.
Right.
You would not commit.
Well, you're wearing a mask. And
Well, that's the other thing. The pandemic has everybody wearing a mask. So now,
Not everybody.
well, a lot of people, and so
these
but-
guys
but
are for
the
a
an-
couple
wearing these
reasons.
big
that
bandanas
third
and
wave of
hats and stuff. No
Antifa,
one
the
can
ones
tell
with
who
the
they are.
backpacks, also are usually all dressed in black. They have the black mask on. You can pick them out. And so, in fact, Sydney and I were watching. They had a protest in Cincinnati last night in front of the Justice Center, and there was the guy. He had a yellow backpack on. He had his camera. He had the black
This
mask, the black.
fancy gas mask
Yeah,
on.
you can pick them out because they obviously they are the organizers. They are the people that are perpetrating what they plan on doing. As far as now, I don't know that there was any violence in Cincinnati yesterday, but
Yeah, they were arresting people. I know that.
but I mean,
Well,
no,
that's all.
and no one is exempt. I mean, they had protests in Centerville. They had protests in Beaver Creek.
Yep.
And so
Chillicothe, they shut down Bridge Street yesterday, supposedly.
Protests are one thing. I get that.
We had a peaceful protest in Wilmington where people were just, standing on the sidewalk and holding signs, which I'm all for, just peaceful protests. Like,
Yeah.
go ahead and hold your signs.
when you
and
step in the street
spout your
and you start
message,
blocking
but-
traffic,
Right.
and if you get hit, you have no excuse.
I saw one. I don't blame this guy. He was driving a rig, and these people would not get out of his way, and
just
he was trying.
kept on
Well, that was in
going.
Minneapolis. Yeah, there was a guy in Minneapolis. He was actually a truck driver from Ohio, represented an Ohio company, and I don't know how because supposedly it was I-35. I-35 runs from Minneapolis all the way down to Dallas, Texas, and he somehow got up on the interstate that was supposedly closed, and I think that because once again, so many of these things are done. First of all, they wanted to get them out of the downtown area, so if they were going to protest, there wasn't going to be any destruction. So put them up on the interstate. It's raised. It's elevated. They're up there. The worst thing that can happen is someone can fall off. But the point is they can't burn anything. They can't loot anything. So maybe that was a good idea, but the bad idea was that somehow this truck ended up on the interstate and didn't hit anyone, but they climbed all over the truck. They jerked
Pulled
the guy
the
out.
truck
They
driver out and
they
beat
beat
him
him
near
up.
to
And I don't think that this was a purposeful thing. I think that but they arrested him and they took him to jail. And so I don't know I think after the investigation is over, they'll realize.
Well, they were trying to get his truck. They were trying to stop him and all that. I think
Yeah.
if I was him, I would be in fear of my life, and I would use any manner to get away from.
Well, the remarkable thing was there were thousands of people on this elevated section of I-35. No one was hit, and there was even someone that he swerved at the very last minute. He swerved a little as he was slowing down, that he avoided hitting them. But they literally jerked him out of that truck.
The only person who was injured was the
Was
truck
him.
driver that they pulled out and
Right.
beat almost to death.
And truck drivers, right now they're the lifeblood of keeping things going. And if we are, if they're going to feel that their life is threatened, they won't drive truck. And if they don't, you think you're going to have a problem with toilet paper? You're going to have a problem with just about everything.
Food sources and everything.
So let's just ask another general question here. How many people believe then this Antifa is stirring these riots up? Everybody in agreement there?
Yeah, no question about it. And when you say,
Wait a minute.
I need to
Wait a
have
minute.
more education.
I
informed
want to get everybody's opinion. Yay or nay?
I mean, I definitely think there's some organization behind it. I don't know 100% it's them because they haven't confirmed that it's
they
them.
part
And
of
I
it?
think
They're part of it.
they like to have the attention. So I don't know why they aren't, saying that they're part of it because they've always liked to say they're part of things. So I don't get why they aren't advertising they're part of
All
it.
right.
Such a negative reaction these riots are having.
Well, now let me ask this, because this has been floated on CNN and MSNBC and to me.
oh, they're reliable.
Oh, wait a minute. No, this cracks me up. That's why I want to hear your opinion on it, but it's going to sound like I'm racist. All right, they are saying white power groups are behind all these riots.
Making the black people look bad.
How can that be? Because when you watch the riots, I'm sorry, everybody can watch
There's a
the
bunch
riots.
of white people there protesting and
whoa,
doing stuff too.
time out. No.
You mean the destruction?
Hold on. The protests, yes, there are plenty. It's nice and mixed. There's black and white. You watch late at night, and you watch these big cities, it's going to be at least 90-10.
Yeah, I would agree on that
And if
because
you-
in watching the actual destruction,
So how are white supremacists behind that?
well, because
They're not.
It's non-existent. And the first night of the Columbus riot, when they went to the courthouse or the state house, and they were breaking. Remember the guy with the skateboard or whatever, and was bashing the bus stop, trying to break the glass. That was a white kid. He was trying to topple one of the lampposts. That was a white kid.
Sure.
So he's one of those that gets caught up in that. But for the most part, I think that. When you talk about Antifa and you talk about, there are other organizations, groups that want to see the United States toppled as far as its government structure, because we are the sole remaining, we'll say, true democratic republic in the world. And the Constitution is what has stopped them from turning us into a Europe or some other countries. And if they can topple our government, then obviously the one world order that everybody seems to think maybe is not real, which it is going to take place. That's what this is all about, trying to topple the government.
It's funny, though, that they would say, like, oh, the KKK.
I won't say maybe necessarily an organization, but I have seen a ton of posts on social media from both a lot of I'm half black and half white for anyone who doesn't
You're
know
25%
this.
black. Come
Anyway.
on. Tell us.
From a lot of my black friends, and then from a lot of my white friends, from the black friends saying that, a lot of my white friends have white privilege. And then a lot of my white friends apologizing for growing up with white privilege. And I'm like, why are you apologizing? And then my white friends apologizing for slavery back in the day.
I don't
And
apologize.
like
I had
owing
nothing to do with any of
reparations
that.
or
I think it
whatever.
makes people
I'm like, I'm
uncomfortable.
really sorry that you're sorry for something that was abolished in 1865,
Right.
but you don't owe me an apology for something that my ancestors' ancestors did there was both white and black slaves and both white and black slave owners back in the day. So you owe me nothing and I owe you nothing. So
Right.
like, let's let that be and move on, because this is 2020, not 1865.
Yes.
Well, and whatever word you want to
You're
use.
Right, you're right.
No, I agree with you. Whatever word you use, I've said this forever. It doesn't make any difference whether you're yellow, red, black, green, or white. There's ignorant, stupid people of all.
Oh, boy.
I'm not going to say the word, but they're every color has that, in my opinion. But I will say this. Like I said, I told you it was going to sound racist, but you watch the videos tonight. When they'll probably do it again tonight. Before the rioting and all that, yeah, it's a nice mix. When that rioting starts, I guarantee you it's 90%.
Well, I think that part of
90%
that is that the people that are sane don't want to be on the street. They don't want to be subject to tear gas or rubber bullets or the wood pellets that they're shooting. And in all honesty, I think that what we're probably going to see, if the looting and the rioting continues, there's going to be a higher level of violence against the rioters. So there's going to be people that are killed. They might as well just realize that they're going to be and there's going to be more bloodshed from the one death that started this entire
The National
protest.
Guard's already brought in.
There's 70,000 so far National Guard called up.
Yeah, well, there's going to be more, and at this point, if the National Guard can't quell the violence, there'll be military, and that should be the last thing that we do is to actually have American military
We're in
people.
martial law now.
Yeah. But what the thing that makes this difficult is that we're still in the throes of this coronavirus, and so there are
What's that?
there are things that are causing problems, systemic problems. With all the things that are going on. And let's face it, people that have been in their homes for 2.5 months, 3 months.
People are mad.
They're already ticked off. So there's a level of anger that was already there.
Pent up emotions and
People
from being
wanna-
isolated,
and people wanna get
mental
out.
health issues, depression, anxiety.
Oh, yes.
So it's sort of like one thing plays into another.
Yep.
And then you've got people that obviously have been devastated, business owners.
Economic hardships.
That's right. People that have been unemployed, and everybody thinks, everybody has gotten their stimulus, everybody has gotten their unemployment. Some people are making more money than what they would on normal unemployment. Those are the few. We've never received stimulus.
I did.
I mean, we can't claim unemployment.
We don't get unemployment. We haven't gotten any special benefits.
You could
as
have
far
maybe
as,
got a small business line now.
No, we looked at that too. We're not eligible for it, and there's a special thing where if you're a nonprofit, as WZAA is, you can't even apply. Now they're trying to change some things, but the point is. There are people that have applied for unemployment when this thing first started that still don't get unemployment.
Right.
So, what do you do as a small business person or even just an unemployed person? Not everybody's getting that extra $600. There's only a few. And it's not, they said right now that even 50% of the people that applied that are eligible for the unemployment still have not received the first unemployment check. And the problem here is this. There's only so much money out there. And there's a difference between the federal government that can just print up more money and the state governments that can't. They rely on the federal government to give them loans
When they run out.
or to
they
provide
run
the money.
out.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I don't think that the federal government is that interested in bailing out some of these states because particularly states that have overspent either on their pension funds that are unfunded or, a lot of the money they're asking for is to bail out things that they've done 20 years ago. And that's the problem. Problem is the federal government is not going to do that. And even here in Ohio, when we expanded Medicaid, which I'm not saying that we should or we shouldn't have, but when we did expand Medicaid, the federal government paid about 90% of that. Well, that's all run out. Now we pay 90% of it. And so, that coupled with the coronavirus problem now, the state of Ohio is broke. For anyone that thinks they're going to get any more money from the state of Ohio, it's not coming unless the federal government gives Ohio money. Right now, there's we had 4 weeks at the beginning of this week. We had 4 weeks of unemployment left. That's the funding. They don't have.
Right.
We do have a rainy day fund, but that won't extend it beyond maybe another couple months if they take that. And then you have no money. You have zero money for anything. So
Well, that's why they got to get things opened back up.
that's the only way you can do it. You got to have taxes
and
flow.
take the risk. I'm sorry, but if you're in that group where you're more susceptible, stay home.
Well, it's what they say. I don't know what percentage, so I'm not going to throw it out there, but it is more than 50%. It's less than 100% of the deaths are in nursing homes.
Yes.
And
I want to say like 85% is about.
yeah,
what
it's
I-
high.
High.
And so once again, it's like everything else that we tend to do. Instead of actually going to the root of the problem and correcting that, we do these blanket things. So everybody suffers because, and that's the problem.
It's like I said last week.
Yeah.
We're in two different countries right now. You have the big city countries.
Yes.
But those need to be treated different than people out here.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
it's
even if you look at the nursing homes and the prisons, and of course, what was their answer for prisons? Well, let's let everybody out.
Well, now we have them out.
Yeah.
What's going on with that?
And, well, they've been
spreading
rearresting.
it quicker
What's going on
And
now?
here-
y'all?
so like this.
Howdy,
in lieu
y'all.
of coronavirus, we have everybody's rehabilitated and magic wand is waved and
Right.
all is right.
Yeah. So, and if that doesn't add to the panic of people when they think that, and these aren't just people that were in there because they got caught with a joint. These
You're
are
surrounding people like from Rikers Island. And
these are
stuff, right? Like,
murderers.
yeah.
These are people that actually committed violent crimes,
Violent
and they're being rearrested literally days or weeks later because they've reoffended. And I can't understand the liberal mindset and why they think these are injustices and they have to be corrected by letting these people out. But then those same liberal people are stuffing people into, like in New York, into these, you got the coronavirus, okay, we're going to put you in a nursing home where we already have all these people
Yeah,
dying.
I think that's a silly
What
move.
sense does that
Yeah.
make?
What did he call the grandmother killer? Is that?
Yeah, like,
He's back. He's back.
please stay away from my grandma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should
well,
have never done it to begin with.
No. But also, what about when they turned all these to makeshift hospitals in New York?
And
There was a
he
vote
didn't
couldn't
send
even
them.
use, and they didn't use them
He didn't send them.
or any of it. And then they had all these $21 million, I think, to turn into makeshift, hospitals to overwhelming load off, and they never even had one patient in it.
well, and of course,
I said 21,000. I meant 21 million.
as being a part of the media, we've been out the entire time. So, and with Sydney obviously with some of the things that she has that she has to see specialists for. We've been to Kettering Medical Center. We've been to OSU. We know, at the beginning of this, right to today, that there weren't patients flooding these hospitals, that we weren't being filled up with all this. And in fact, I talked with a nurse at Kettering Medical Center, and she simply said, and this was the heart center, wasn't it, there at Kettering?
Yeah, the cardiologist.
Yeah, and she said, they have us working 5 days one week and then off 5 days and then 5 days the next week after that. And the reason they're doing this is so that we can't file for unemployment. So, and she says, because we're empty. And they're still empty even now. Because I saw something on Facebook. Kettering was literally begging people to, to start coming back into the hospitals and not staying at home or not being fearful of coming to the hospitals because the hospitals are still empty. We have a good friend that he flies from here to Boston regularly, and he was on a flight this morning to Boston, and he said that there were on the flight 13 people, including himself, and 3 actual crew members. And I don't know what airport he was in, but it would have been Columbus or Dayton or Cincinnati. And he was showing the airport. It was absolutely empty. It was eerie. And, so people are still not. A lot of people are still fearful because this was played up so much as far as the virus.
I met with some people last week, but they've got not corona, but they have susceptible people in that age group that are in their families. So, I mean, they were wearing their mask and staying away and all that, which that's fine. That's what they should do. But that's what I'm saying. The government just got to say, look, we're just going to bank that you're smart enough.
Yeah, for the most part, people can make their own decision as to what kind of risks they want to take.
Well, and life's changed already. I mean, you've got You know, it's like they talked after 9/11. You know how airports are all, you know, it's the same thing after 9/11. All
Right.
the changes, and that's where we're at now. I mean, like I went out to eat yesterday at a restaurant. No glass plates. No.
What was it? Paper?
Paper plates, and also they had you know, plastic utensils.
Did they charge extra for the coronavirus?
No.
So there was
We
no
went
surcharge?
to Taco Bell in Wilmington, and they they did not have their lobby open. They said, "Sorry, you can't come in and management's order."
Well, I think that some, depending on what they require as far as seating and things like that, some businesses, especially businesses that have fixed seating, they're you know, they're bolted to the floor. I think some businesses find it impossible to rearrange their furniture in such a way as to meet the social distancing guidelines. You know, to me, I just put plastic bags over them or whatever.
Yeah, just put X's. You know,
Yeah.
can't sit there.
But
you know.
even some of the ingenious things that they've come up with, like putting shower curtains between the stalls and things like that, they're ingenious. But at the same time, there's nothing healthy about putting up plastic. That,
Yeah, and all this piece of plastic in front of everywhere we go. I talk behind it, I talk under it, I put my things around it, you know what I mean? It's in my way.
well,
It's in the cashier's way.
and the shower curtains aren't even clear. They're, you know, they're frosted or whatever. So, you know, I guess maybe some privacy. But it's just like the way they've shown that schools are going to reopen, where the kids are literally in their own little cubicle, and there's, you know, the plastic.
Like, how are they even going to see the teacher?
Well, they can't, because it's not even clear plastic.
It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
And
It's not.
I hope they can breathe in those little bubbles.
what sense does it make in Ohio to send kids to school 2 days a week if you're going to have them at home 3 days, and you're going to have to make arrangements for someone to be there or to school them or whatever, or to make sure they're
A lot of
online?
people want to work 40 hours a week, Monday through
Well,
Friday.
the bottom line is, if they're going to be there for 3 days, they should be there for 5 days.
And what if you have
Or
more
they
than
should
one
be in
kid
school.
like different grades? Like,
Yeah.
what are you going to work like these 2 days?
Yeah, and so
then
this is
the
not.
other two, like,
This is not by any stretch of the imagination over. That we are going to see this for the next 6 months or longer, you know, and that's if this virus doesn't come back with a vengeance. You know, they keep saying that it's possible. I don't know whether it is or it isn't, but one thing's for certain: if they try to shut things down again because this pandemic comes back, or it's even bigger or whatever, we in the United States we've had just over 100,000 people die of the coronavirus, and as you said, Kim, there's probably 75, 85% of those people in nursing homes where they were confined and where they were
Yes, and they was already sick.
right. Yeah.
But
And
how
they're
many
old.
of those people were already
They're
going to die
old.
of natural
Yeah.
causes,
Yeah.
or the flu, or
Right.
pneumonia,
So
or
anytime they
bronchitis,
die,
or
they attribute it
whatever
to the
else?
corona. It's getting counted to corona.
Heart
And I think-
disease.
Well, they were
whatever
incentivized to
other
do that.
things
You know,
were
you
they
get
going to die
big
of?
money if you die of corona.
Yeah.
You're going
You killed in a car crash and you happen to have
I'm
corona.
sorry,
That's your cause
When
of
you're
death.
80 plus years old,
Well-
what number of things could you have already died from?
Annie Glenn just passed away. You know, John Glenn's wife.
Right.
And they put corona on that, supposedly. She was only
Todd Walker's got an interesting. He
She's
said
only
she'll be fined for
101.
shower curtains due to fire hazard.
Well, that's true.
That's interesting.
That's true, because some of the things that they're doing, they may help in one way, but in the other way, let's face it, can you really wipe down those shower curtains? You know, if somebody has sneezed on them, you're going to catch it. You know what?
I haven't seen the shower curtains. I've seen like plastic panels put up like in between.
the plexiglass.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're seeing that all over the
Every
place.
register.
Everywhere you're going, there's plexiglass, which would be a little easier, I think, to wipe down. But it's also very expensive. If you were putting plexiglass between,
Every booth.
you would spend and someone has to pay for it. And if the businesses are operating at 25 to 50% what they normally do, they're just generating cash flow. They're not making any money. It's just cash flow.
Heat Wave says 2 people here in Circleville, Ohio, tested positive for the virus last night at Berger Hospital.
Yeah, and let's face it. There's a difference, but there's a difference between testing positive and actually getting sick
Right.
to where you're hospitalized.
We could all be tested
You could be
positive.
asymptomatic.
We-
I mean, we
we-
could all have it technically.
It's
and
very
not
possible
know.
that all 4 of us sitting here have had it.
I've had it. I
Right.
feel like I had back in February.
And-
About
and-
a week I couldn't move. I was a hacking and a coughing.
You sure that wasn't just cigarettes?
I don't smoke cigarettes.
Yeah. Well, you notice she said she doesn't smoke cigarettes.
No, those are nasty. Those are cancer. cancer sticks. Those are not my forte.
I was just trying to be politically correct. That's all.
It was subtle, but
You
she
always
doesn't
try.
smoke
I was
cigarettes.
trying to be. Let's change gears here a minute, because
All right.
everybody's tired of all this negative BS. Let's talk about one thing that happened that was super positive this week, in my mind, anyhow, and that was the launch.
I wish they would have taken me with them.
The NASA.
Yeah, they said some people were saying that was the best thing you could do was to leave the planet.
Yep.
I'm like,
Well, I tell you,
what?
that thing went off clean, and Elon Musk, baby, he's got
I
it
thought
going
it wasn't
on.
even happening until Wednesday. It's already happened, huh?
Oh
When it
yeah,
happened.
yeah.
It happened last.
Well, it was
Saturday.
last Wednesday, and it was scrubbed because of the weather.
Yeah.
And then they relaunched on the next window of opportunity, which was
Saturday,
Saturday.
What was it, 3:30, something like that?
Yeah, it was in the afternoon around 4.
Yeah.
But you're right. And that just goes to show you that actually big business or private business can work with government to get things done.
Yeah.
And to get them done efficiently, to get them done safely. And so it was that sort of partnership between NASA and Musk that actually pulled this thing off.
Well, I tell you, the thing with Musk is every rocket he sends up, I think, and maybe I'm just stupid, but I think the coolest thing is his boosters, how he gets them to land back. I mean, in the past, they just dropped
reusable.
them out in the ocean. you
Right,
know.
yeah.
Now he gets these things to come back and actually land on a ship. I mean,
Well, it's not
that's-
just that. Did you actually see the inside of the cabin? Well, first of all, let's start. In the old days, we used to take the astronauts from where they got ready by a van. It was a van that would take them to the launch pad.
I've been in that van before.
Well, now they go out in Teslas, and so I think.
Teslas, as in,
Elon Musk,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely,
And
okay.
so they had this parade of Teslas that were going were escorting them to the launch pad.
Sure.
And then you look at the inside. First of all, their spacesuits actually look like something more from like Star Trek or something.
Yeah, they're
because they're
nice.
very modern and very
Not
interesting.
bulky.
No, and the seats that they sit in are actually molded to their body, and they can be changed out of the craft, depending on who it is that's actually, going up for that time. And then the inside of the cabin, where you saw, like maybe with a space shuttle, where you had a lot of digital and analog, readouts and things. Now it's all touchscreen.
Yep.
And so they have these 3 touch screens that they all, and most of it, let's face it, they're not actually controlling a lot on themselves.
Right.
This is all automated, and it's all done, by automation rather than them actually controlling it. They're really there, I guess you would say, besides being there for the ride, they're there in case something goes wrong. Then they can kick in the the manual backups and things like that.
Yep.
But I think it was very impressive, and we know there's going to be. At some point, there's probably going to be some failures.
Sure.
We hope no one loses their life, but this is new technology that we're testing here. And, anytime you go off into space, you're taking a huge risk.
Think about comparing it like to the corona thing. Think about the difference in risk. Think how we're trying to protect everybody in this corona thing, but yet we let people get on a massive bomb and shoot themselves into space.
I'd rather take that risk.
Think about it.
Yes.
Yeah, think
Personally,
about it.
I'm down for that instead.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? It's funny, because on one side of our American lives, we're these risk takers, the entrepreneurs that want to go off to do everything and try to make life better. Then the other side of America, we've got to protect everybody from this. We can't let them do
You
this.
even have people that are willing to get on a spaceship that's going to head off to Mars, knowing they're not coming back.
I know, that's
so, I mean,
crazy.
people that obviously, are willing to be the pioneers, and they realize that, however long they'll live on the surface of Mars, it's not going to be forever, and they certainly aren't going to come back from a trip to Mars. Those are going to be sort of like the Conestoga wagon travelers
Exactly
across
what
the
I was
United
thinking.
States.
Yeah, it's exactly. What I was
You got Indians and all kinds of things, to get to California or whatever. Well, it's the same thing with the pioneers that go into space to maybe go to our first planet that we're going to
it's
visit.
exploration.
And with all the controversy, I guess, about the moon landings and whether they really took place or they didn't. I saw a NASA film. They now have an orbiter that is orbiting the moon, and it's mapping out the entire moon, and it has a number of different types of instruments on it. So they're looking for water, which there's all kinds of abundant water on the moon. In the craters and things like that, especially at the south pole of the moon. But they are mapping out the actual mineral deposits that are on the moon. There's a wealth of all kinds of minerals that could be mined on the moon. But the other thing is they actually were able to zoom in on one of the original Apollo landing sites, and you could see the actual the booster that stayed on that was part of the lander,
Right.
and just a few feet away from the lander was the rover that they took on the to go around the moon. So for those naysayers, I guess you could say, unless you think this whole orbiting thing is just made up, we actually did go to the moon, and they could actually see the lander and that they're still on the moon.
What I'm interested in is why we've never gone back to build things and to do, if it's there, everybody can make it. Why?
I don't know whether it was because we put our sights on Mars and I don't know.
Perhaps.
I think the space shuttle missions, and it went to the moon, but the International Space Station, all the different experiments and things they could do up there, I think they felt was more beneficial than doing tests like that on the moon.
And there's only so much money, in any situation. But sending the rovers to Mars, I mean, you look at the planning that it takes, but you look at the success that the rovers have had, and the fact that they operated years beyond what they were expected. They were getting their money's worth. It's like,
and if we think about it, it wasn't that long ago, wasn't it? In 1969.
Yes.
I mean, it wasn't really that long ago.
yeah. Well,
I mean, I wasn't alive, but it wasn't that long ago.
I was going to say you were just.
it was
No, I'm not.
Yeah, it's a testimony,
Right.
To what we can accomplish if we set our sights on certain things, and so hopefully we'll stay and continue forward in space. And what people don't realize is so many things that we use today in our technology were developed on the space station or were developed on the launches to the moon and that. And the technologies are used in everyday life. And a lot of even the drugs that we're looking at manufacturing, a lot of it started in zero gravity. And so there's a lot of experiments that we've been able to conduct and benefits that we've been able to receive. So to me, it's like anything else. It's a return on investment. And it's not just a case where we're doing it because we want to be, the first to the moon or the first in space or whatever. We're doing it because I think that there's a good return on that investment that we make.
Sure.
And it's even better now that we've got private business that are willing to step up and put, millions of dollars in it so the taxpayers don't have to pay it all.
Oh yeah. Well, they're getting their fair share from the government too.
Oh, well, no question about it. Well, Musk has gotten billions from the U.S. government.
Man, he talked about moving his company out of California with
To
all
Texas.
their nonsense. Yeah.
Well, and I think he still plans on doing at least making some of those moves. The unfortunate thing about some states and the way they're operated, they don't realize that there's only so much tax money that people are going to be able to fork over. And once it gets to be a point, where you can't be taxed anymore, there's too many other states out there that you don't have those same taxes. For instance, no state income tax in places like Florida or Tennessee. Why would you live in a state like New York where you're paying an exorbitant amount of income tax? And especially if you're a millionaire or you're a billionaire, you think about, even people that are earning six figures. If you're paying $8,000 or $10,000 or $15,000 a year in state tax, and you can move to a state and pay zero, that $8,000 or $10,000, might pay for your health care, might pay for,
Right.
Braces or a new car or whatever.
Yep. Exactly.
Why give it to the state if they're not, if you don't have to?
Yes, Todd, we are thankful for astronaut ice cream.
Astronaut ice cream. Yeah, there you go.
Well, look at how famous Tang became.
Heat wave, all race matters. And I agree with that. Yeah, I hate seeing the Black Lives Matter stuff because it should be all lives matter.
Yeah, well,
All lives matter, not just black lives,
Well,
not just
and
green, not blue, not red.
Everybody.
all.
When people,
Everybody,
I
all
noticed
human
that
beings.
on these feeds, because various news organizations are covering the riots and the protests and that, and a lot of times when people post "All Lives Matter," then a lot of people will come back with "All lives don't matter until Black lives matter." So even in that, they try to make it contentious. What it comes down to is this: all lives do matter, and we have to not only recognize that, but until we actually practice that, no one is going to be safe from having to worry about being yanked out of your car and beaten up, or any of the other things that are going on.
Or the lady in Rochester, New York, who's out against her, out standing in front of her store trying to make sure people don't loot it, and 4 black guys basically was beating her with a 2x4 and punched her. Have you seen that video?
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
Oh my gosh! And this lady's no bigger than you, Sydney, and she's out in front of her store just saying, "Hey, we don't want any trouble." And this guy takes a 2x4. It's probably about 8 foot long, and just starts whacking on her door. And then they leave her alone for a minute because they realize she's no threat. But she must have been saying something, because then a guy pulls his hood up where you can't tell who he is. He just comes over and waylays her. And then while they got her down, they're beating her.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, this isn't going to be the last time that we see this, and whether or not this lasts through the summer, or because that's the bad thing. I was telling Sydney that my fear is that as it gets hotter, it's going to get worse. Ultimately, there's going to be lives lost, and whether it's people that are protesting, and when I say protesting, I really mean rioting, whether they get shot, because the government, they're going to step it up. They're not doing it just to kill people. They're doing it to protect people's lives, their livelihoods.
They need to be a little tougher. The government
Oh,
just
no
needs to
question.
come in and just put an end to
And
this.
if they deploy the real military, or they tell the National Guard to step it up, they aren't going to play games. I mean, they think this
Well,
tear gas is bad, or some mace is
it's-
bad. You even get the military grade kind out. I mean, they're going to fall over.
Well, and they're
I'm
not-
just saying,
but,
like.
but they're not arresting people.
Oh, we saw.
Well, they're
was it
arresting
the
people, but they're
Columbus
letting them
speed?
out,
They
the
let
next day.
150 people get arrested.
Well,
yeah,
but they need
just go through
to.
process
They
and
need to
get
do
out.
it immediately.
Yeah.
I mean, as soon as you see somebody breaking that law, you go get them.
Well, think about this.
That's simple.
You had in New York, you had 2 attorneys that were arrested for throwing Molotov cocktails into
Which
a
I
police
kept calling
vehicle.
Mazel Tov cocktails.
Yeah,
That's how Jewish
She's
I am.
Jewish.
Oh my God.
I said, Sydney, it's not Mazel Tov, it's
That's what I would say if I was throwing one, though. I'd be like, Mazel Tov.
But anyway.
Continue.
These were fairly prominent Brooklyn attorneys.
Incoming salvo.
And of course,
Mazel tov.
I guess the mayor of New York, De Blasio, his daughter was arrested
Yeah.
during the and I think that the daughter of the governor of Minnesota, she was arrested
Really?
for being a part of it. Now, whether people are arrested for the actual protests or they're arrested for rioting is 2 different things. I think that as long as you stay out of the street, as long as you protest on the sidewalk, and you're in an area that's not, stopping people from going into businesses and that, you're just basically there.
Peaceful protest.
That's right. And, I understand where they come from when they say, look, we try to protest and be peaceful, but sometimes people only understand violence in order to be able for us to get the attention that we need to get.
No
for
one
our
disagrees
cause.
with them on this, though. That's the stupid thing about it. If you ask, like we asked earlier, if you ask, all the people in the United States have seen this, you're going to have 90-some% say yes, he should be charged with something. You're going to have the 5 or 10% because they do have warped minds and they aren't seeing things clearly because of the way they've been brought up or whatever. You're not going to get a full 100%, but you're going to get 90-some%. What poll ever gets a kind of 90% rating? I mean, it's ridiculous. If we're disagreeing upon something, we get it. But if you're just out to try to better yourselves, that's all these looters are doing. They're just trying to They don't.
Free stuff.
I guarantee you half the people that are looting don't even know who George Floyd is. They don't even.
Or
know
they
his
don't
name.
even know why they're there.
Right.
I mean, other than they're getting the free stuff.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's the terrible thing about it. You know, you see these people, and like I said, they swarm into these broken. They're going through through these broken windows that they've broken out, and they're just streaming into these businesses, and they're coming back with things like clothing. I'm sure the clothing doesn't fit them. They probably don't fit anybody that they know. Now, maybe they're going to sell it.
Sell it.
Maybe we're going to see a lot of cheap clothing and electronics and that on
I've seen
eBay.
some crazy stuff being stolen, like mannequins. I'm like, what you gonna do with that? Like, do you own
I
a
don't
clothing
want to.
store? Like, I'm sorry. And mannequins are heavy. I don't know if you've ever worked in a clothing store, but they're also really awkward to try to carry. Like, I saw a video of a guy who stole an ATM from a store, and he was trying to get on a city
On a bus.
okay? And the bus driver
With
would
the
not let
ATM.
him get on the bus with the ATM. He was struggling to pick it up because ATMs
Are
really
heavy.
heavy, okay?
Yep.
He cannot get it up onto the bus. He's trying to pick up this heavy
Like the bus
ATM.
driver's going to say, yeah, bring your
And the bus
ATM with
driver
you.
just picked up the bus and just kept going. He
I
was
don't
like,
carry a wallet. I
"Bye."
just carry my ATM.
Isn't that crazy?
like the whole ATM machine,
wow.
Yeah, there's been
That's
some
incredulous.
Yeah,
an entire ATM machine.
People.
That's
Yeah,
when you just start
exactly.
rubbing your temples. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It just it makes your head hurt.
Now I've got another question. I hate to say this, but I've lost this lady's name. But what happened to Biden's accuser? What's her name again? Do we remember?
I don't remember her name.
Let's see. None of us
look it
even
up real
remembers her
quick.
name.
No.
But it's not just her. He's actually had several people.
Yeah,
that-
but who's this
that
recent
have-
one? I mean, is
have,
anything happening on that?
Well, no, because once again, we don't hear that much from Biden. I mean, when he comes out of his basement or wherever he's hiding, and wants to, do a little speech or whatever, his most recent speech has been that the police should shoot people in the leg.
Yeah, I saw that.
They, that they,
I saw that.
If you don't know
he was
Biden,
not
went
shot.
back- Oh,
He
Tara Reid.
he died because
Tara
a
Reid.
knee was put on his neck. He was not shot. So then Biden, his answer is, well, just shoot him in the leg.
Is there anything happening with this? I'm just curious.
No, there's nothing happening. I mean, I think there is an ongoing trial, but at the same time, with all the things that are going on, how do you have a court if you've got riots outside your
That's all
courtroom?
The court was shut down for the corona.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, and I think that just like the BMV, it just opened recently. It's still
Have you
had
seen
been,
it
it had
lately?
been closed.
Every town I go,
Oh
I
yeah,
see DMV must be
Oh,
40, 50,
we
60
went there,
people.
Yeah.
and
we
what
were
was
doing.
that,
We were
Tuesday?
Tuesday.
And it took.
It was the
no, it
second day
wasn't
they were open.
Tuesday, because we were here Tuesday. I guess it was Wednesday, and it took 4 hours to get plates.
Right. Well, and I had to renew my driver's
4
license.
4 hours.
Did you pass?
4 hours. Oh yeah. Of
Okay.
course. Yeah. I still can see.
4 hours.
That's just senseless.
I'm just checking.
Well, they go easy on us old people. They know that we're, we probably can't see as well as we should, but, it's like,
Oh, I tell you what, I saw a driver's test that one time. A lady forgot to renew her license, and I was with Crystal in there, and this officer was trying to give her every break in the world.
well, they do. I think, yeah.
Where she could see, he finally, yeah, you're fine, go on. I don't know that he really meant it, but he just like, yeah,
I
you're
think
good.
I should just try it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't have a license, so.
Yeah.
It's time.
Yeah. Well, she can't drive. She's got epilepsy, so
That's why I don't.
we
have
don't
a
want her
license.
seizing out and crashing into your hearse.
There you go. You could buy my old
That's
hearse.
the only reason I don't have a license.
You could buy my old hearse. There you go. Then if you crash into something, at least you're protected.
And they can just put my body in the back.
That's right. That's
Put me
right.
in the back.
You're already in the.
Well, and I guess at this point, because my birthday is this month on the 22nd, so
You gotta remember that. So we
Lexus,
have to have a show that day.
Lexus, or whatever you want to send my way. Some of us don't drive Mercedes Benz, so anyway,
That shot.
I think that was. That was a shot
Shots
across
fired.
the bow.
I got my little Ford Focus out there. She's out there with her Mercedes. So anyway, of course,
It was a BMW the last time.
you
wasn't it?
that's
Yep.
true. It was. Yeah. Do you remember, or does that non-cigarette that you smoke killed some brain cells? You don't remember?
At least.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
I know not of what he speaks. So sometimes, it's like
Well,
Joe Biden thing
look
with
at it this
dementia.
way.
Sometimes it just comes out.
Kim,
and you just
Kim,
see.
it's legal in a lot of states now, so you don't have to
It's
worry.
legal in Ohio, isn't it?
Yeah, well, no, it's
I have
medicinal.
my card.
Medical.
Oh, do you have a
I
card?
do.
Oh, okay. How did that work? Don't you have
She
to be a
went
judge?
to a doctor
Don't you have to be like
and
crazy
got
or something like
one?
that? Be a little
There's a few some things
PS,
you gotta be.
PTSD or yeah. So what is your malady there?
That's my private.
It's against
It's a HIPAA.
her HIPAA violation
That's a
to
HIPAA
ask that
violation.
question.
Well, if she
And
tells
I'm
me,
also going to plead the fifth.
if
So
I
either
ask her.
way, I'm covered.
yeah,
That's what
okay.
Jeffrey
You
Epstein
can't
did too.
ask her that.
Pled the
So
fifth.
tell me, what does like an ounce of pot cost
I wouldn't know.
medically?
No, seriously, I have no clue. What does?
Well, see, most people that have the card, Charlie, I'll enlighten you. Most of the people that have the card don't go to the medical marijuana dispensaries because it's too expensive. So they have the card.
How much is it at a medical marijuana?
She doesn't know
It's
because she's never bought it there.
In Ohio, I can't answer that, but in Oklahoma, I can.
Okay, how much is it in Oklahoma?
About $240
For how
An
much?
ounce?
an ounce.
Okay, so
It's
on the street in
expensive.
Oklahoma, how
And
much is it,
that's
Kim?
What you call
Kim?
the very high.
How much is
medicinal
how
grade.
much is the black market in Oklahoma? An ounce.
I wouldn't know the answer to that.
Oh, okay, all right. Because
it or
seriously, most of the people that have these cards just have them to cover their behind.
I like it because the store's open and you don't have to. You can just go to the store and buy it.
Yeah. Well, have you been to any stores in Ohio?
No.
Oh, okay. So
You know what? If we want to talk about that a little more in depth, I got a friend that we could maybe bring on here because he is actually
I think a lot of people would
working
probably
on the
be
one of the
interested.
farms.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll talk to him and see if we, who he is.
Grand
Well, now,
Officer?
do we have an actual? Do we have? Don't we have a facility in Wilmington?
That's one of the guys I'm talking about. I think he's
It was what Yellow Springs too.
he has something to do with it. We'll see if we can get him on
Jesse
sometime.
Wilson, I think is.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
Yeah, Jesse.
yeah.
Wilson.
I knew this farm was going to come about months and months before it actually did, simply because there was someone that was privy to it that was in the government that I know real well, and had said that we were getting this this was going to come about, but. I don't think that.
What was that?
I don't know what that was.
I don't think, to me, this is just sort of a sham, this medical thing, because I mean,
It's just a money grab.
He's a
that's
growl.
true. Yeah, it was a growl. It's that zoo growl. But I mean, it's just like these gaming centers. Part of the reason they haven't, although the big casinos still aren't open yet, are they? It's just a little,
No.
yeah. So I think that the state. Look at all the money that they make off gambling, and they
Todd
still got
Blocker
it closed.
says Kim has a Mercedes. Wow, what a step up from the Russian
Yeah,
tank.
it's black. You want to give us your license number in case anybody wants to key it or anything?
No, no, it's had enough happen to it already.
Oh, really? Yeah, she's a terrible
Wow.
driver, I guess.
No, I hit a parked car.
You hit a parked car.
Yeah.
Was that the medical marijuana dispensary?
No, it was in my driveway.
It's in your driveway.
Yes.
You hit a parked car in your
I
driveway?
did. I unfortunately stepped on the gas
Instead of the brake.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
people with Alzheimer's.
Well, everybody does that.
I'd had the car for 3 days in my defense.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So you didn't understand that.
She wasn't used to where everything was. I
Right.
can understand.
She's
Yeah.
still filling out
Sometimes
the
they're a little
Prindle.
close. Yeah, sometimes that
the gas and the
pedal
brake.
are pretty close.
Well, I might have should also been in reverse instead of drive too. That might have helped.
Oh,
also.
yeah, that's
might have,
probably
yeah.
it, too.
You know,
So, yeah.
accidents.
Was this an
happen.
automatic?
Yes.
Okay, so you don't understand how that works?
Oh my goodness! Oh goodness!
All right,
Let's see. We
kids,
got
calm down.
last time we left. I had another topic I wanted to bring up because I know absolutely nothing
Was this
about
last
it.
Tuesday you were talking about?
Yes, sir.
Uh-huh.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Last Tuesday.
Right.
Anyhow, and it reminded me today. I was looking through Facebook on something, and somebody said something at a Walmart. I'm not sure where the Walmart was. There was all these dead birds again. And every time I see some kind of post with dead birds, that always alludes to 5G. So what's going on with 5G? I want to know. I mean, because the one girl on here last week said she had 5G already in some spots.
Well, there are in some of the bigger cities, we do have 5G towers.
Yeah.
And the difference is, and this happens, the higher the frequency. Okay, so let's just talk about wireless, the wireless spectrum. We have 2.4, which was the original spectrum that was opened up for wireless. So most people, if you've had a router at home that's wireless to give you internet access throughout your home, unless you've just recently bought a router, probably the old 2.4 is what you have at home.
Yeah.
And then the distance of those are not as far in some cases as when they went to 5G. 5G had better strength, better distance, and or at least the 5G technology. Now, when it comes to these cell towers, the frequency is much higher with the 5G technology that's on the towers, but they don't broadcast as far. So they have to have more of the towers. They have to be closer together. For instance, your average cell tower right now broadcasts about a 7-mile radius. So with the new technology, they're going to have to put them on lampposts or all over the place in order to be able to give you that coverage.
So right now you have to be right on top of it
Yeah.
to be able to get the 5G.
And you're not going to see them out in the country. I don't think ever, because I just don't think that the expense is going to be warranted for the return on the investment.
Mainly in your metropolitan cities.
I think metropolitan areas and along your major highways, interstates, things like that, you'll see that technology.
So you might see it here then, because of 71.
Very possibly, yeah. I mean, at least you'll get some. But remember, they don't broadcast as far. So 7 miles from the highway is not where you can be and still get it. You're going to have to be, probably within 3 miles of the highway in order to be able to get, that technology.
But you are here, so that works out pretty good.
That's true. I mean, we're right on the interstate here on Interstate 71.
So 5G doesn't kill birds then?
No. And it doesn't
what's
fry
going on with all that?
I'm not going to tell you that any wireless technology doesn't have effects on you the same way with holding a cell phone next to your brain. I'm sure that and we know there is radiation from any of these devices.
Yeah.
So it's probably best if you've got earbuds or whatever, and you do a Bluetooth type thing and keep this away from. But they were even saying that men shouldn't keep it in a pocket because of their prostate.
Emits higher amounts of radiation.
Yeah, there is some radiation.
A lot of people, it's been banned in Europe.
It is
Yeah.
emitting
5G.
higher
Well, the
amounts
5G
of
has.
radiation.
That's what I meant
It
to
is
say.
But
emitting
that's
a
not the
higher amount of
reason. The
radiation.
real reason that they're banning 5G is because the Chinese are the ones that have capitalized on the technology. And what they're afraid of is the Chinese will use that technology since they control. See, that's the problem. Even some of our military weapons were being manufactured by the Chinese during the Obama administration. And they can implant chips into our defense equipment. They could shut it down. They could send a signal that would shut down a plane. Why would we buy military technology from a country that obviously could be an adversary?
Yeah,
And I don't care whether you're the Russians or the Chinese or whatever. It makes no sense. Well, it's the same thing with the technology has, and this Wuhan is where they first started turning it up. And so that's why everybody said, oh, it's the virus, or it's creating the virus, or it's working with the virus. But the point is that the technology was developed by the Chinese, and they are putting it all over. And the thought is that if you are talking on a phone on that network, on the 5G network, then they can steal any information off that phone. Even, they can, decrypt
They can do
it.
that now off any
can
other
do
phone,
that
can't
now.
they?
Yeah. In all honesty, they probably can. But I certainly wouldn't want to be flying around in a jet that has any Chinese equipment in it, because I would be afraid at some point it's sort of like the cars that they can remotely turn off. Like GM had its
Yes.
OnStar, and at the same time, OnStar could actually disable the car remotely from satellite. So if someone was stealing it, they could literally shut the car off.
Oh, well, they call that some kind of lock.
Yeah, and well, I had an OnStar car. I mean, I locked myself out of the car a couple times. You just call OnStar, they unlock your car. So they and that same technology can disable your car if someone was stealing it. Besides the fact that
Low jack.
besides the fact that they can track it.
Yeah.
But these obvious, who's going to give up their phone?
Not I.
No, of course not.
I mean,
And who's going to turn off their GPS?
Mine's over there.
and when you think about this is a low amount of radiation. When you use a microwave, there's a low amount of radiation. When you get an MRI at the hospital, there's a certain amount of radiation, which is why they say you should only get so many, for example, a year. But if you have to do it, you have to do it. I mean, probably don't walk around with potentially like tumors in your body or whatever
Yes.
without knowing. You know, you got to do what you got to do.
Yes.
Yeah, and we know that whether you're talking
But
about
it's the corona. No, I'm sorry.
So,
You know, I'm so sick of hearing social distancing, and we're in this together. I'm so
and this is the new
tired of-
normal. This is the
This
new
is the
normal.
we
new
are in
normal.
this
Yeah.
together, but
Yeah.
also
You
like
can't
stay
shake
6
someone's
feet away
hand.
from me.
It's the dumbest thing I've ever
Wait,
heard.
wait,
that
wait a
makes
minute.
a
I
lot of
like this
sense.
one. You can have 300 people at a wedding, but we can't have groups bigger than 100. That's what our state government is telling us.
Yeah,
right
but
now. Or 10 even, groups of 10. You can't
it's
have.
it's the absurdity that gets people upset.
That's
why
what- it
can
is
you open
absurd.
why can you open a pool, a swimming pool, and not open a water park? What's the difference?
Why can you riot, but you can't go to a bar?
Yeah.
Agreed.
What
Yeah.
up with that?
Or
I mean, I don't
protest.
drink
And what's
alcohol,
with the
but what up
libraries?
with
All
that?
the libraries are closed, but you can have curbside pickup. How are you going to sanitize a book?
Yeah, well, they're still getting paid. You know, government isn't shutting down.
They can't do that. Books got pages. You can't spray wet the pages of books.
outside.
It's 9
Outside,
o'clock,
look.
and that means that we want to let everybody know, especially over the air here in Jeffersonville, that you're listening to WZAA 106.9 LPFM right here in Fayette County.
And we're sorry if you don't like this. Music will be back on in about an hour, so just hang in there. Just hang in there.
This is the morning zoo.
They love their oldies.
Well, the nice thing about doing this, you know, and I think the refreshing thing about doing this once we get it going is people just like that it's local people talking about it. you
Right,
know,
and we're
'cause
talking about, in the most case, local things. Now, granted, a lot of this stuff is now
National is
happening
what we've
nationally,
talked,
but
yeah.
we're still, it's affecting local businesses and
Sure.
local cities and local, I mean, you know, even as we said, there was a protest in Wilmington, which was very peaceful, and there have been protests in smaller cities like Beaver Creek and Centerville. It's not just the Daytons and the Clevelands and the Columbuses.
I mean,
that-
and all those areas are still local to us. I mean, it may
That's
be
right.
more regional,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we're not just talking
Well,
about the national level.
Let's talk a little local here. Gordman's going out of business. They got a 40%.
They're right here
off
in,
right
in
now.
Fayette County,
Right down
just
the
just
street.
down the road from us on
Stage
41.
right next door here.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
they're
their
going out of business.
distribution center.
It was interesting yesterday, and I shouldn't say this because I'm not supposed to be eating sugar, but we had a thing for Wits. You ever eat any Wits?
I
custard.
don't know what that is.
Oh my God, you gotta go to Wits sometime. It's right
Up
there in
here in
Washington
Courthouse?
Courthouse. Yeah, have you ever had that? Oh, it's probably as close to heaven as you can get.
So what is it?
It's a frozen custard place, but they got all kinds.
Is that
Does
the
that
only
have
Their
location?
dairy
custard
in
dogs
it?
are to die for.
Is that
You
the
know
only
that.
location?
No, it does not have
Yeah,
dairy
I
in
think
it.
you get it both ways. You can get
Okay.
it without it and with it. But they've actually got good food.
They do.
in
They're
there
Coney
too.
dogs. Yeah.
Where are they
Yep, got good
located in
chili.
Washington Courthouse?
They're right next to, right down the
Ranchers.
street from Ranchers, Pizza Hut in that area.
Oh, okay. All right.
But Wits, it's just a little drive-through place. Anyhow, I got on there because I was trying to see what their hours were. Because we were visiting a friend of mine last night, and I thought, well, do we go before or after? Because I wasn't sure how long we were going to be there. And I pulled up Wits frozen yogurt, and of course I couldn't find a Washington Courthouse location forever, but they had all these other locations, and it's funny how many of them said permanently closed. Or
Yes, permanently. Wearing office supply is permanently closed down in Wilmington.
Seriously.
Yes, permanently closed and will not be opening back up again. Yeah.
And what about
wine shop in Wilmington's closed
Yeah.
now.
was you're talking about the one that was in the Samuel Walker building
Yep, it's
upstairs?
closed.
Yeah.
That's now the Convention and Visitors Bureau now. In
Oh,
Wilmington.
seriously?
They moved it up there. Yep. And what else is something else is closed in Wilmington too? Oh, Cool J's.
That's true. The hair salon.
And
Todd
they've been there
Blocker
forever.
says Clinton County Fair is back on. No rides.
No rides.
No
in
rides.
Or
Midway.
Midway.
No, Midway. Okay, what's a fair without rides in a Midway?
The animal
It's called
shows
the
and
animal
4-H
shows,
and
yes.
FFA.
It's gonna be
Yeah,
basically-
but
And
how
exhibitors.
many fairs have you gone to in bigger cities? They don't have animals. You know,
Yeah, I've never
it's
gone
not
to-
agriculture.
I've never gone to one
Yeah.
without.
This
Yeah.
this is
I've never
going to
been.
be just.
I mean, the
basically
Ohio State Fair's been canceled.
agriculture.
Now,
yeah.
from what Heatwave was saying, I think the Circleville Pumpkin Festival is still on as it stands.
I've heard
now.
two things.
Yeah, I have too.
I've heard two ways. And then-
Scarecrow Festival locally canceled.
Yeah.
Banana Split Festival locally canceled,
Yeah. Well,
Scarecrow was plum in September.
and they've already canceled.
that's the crazy thing about it. So many of these things are being canceled that are in the fall.
Well, let me speak to that a second because it's like the Banana Split Festival and the Scarecrow Festival. they go and try to get acts from, decent name acts. Festival of Bells, I think, is closed, isn't it?
Yep.
And so you have to have so much time to be able to cancel them, because if you can't, then you got to pay them.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
And
So
so
they
that's
just don't know.
that's why they just, since there's so much up in the air. But I will tell you, and it kind of goes into my car show stuff a little bit. This Thursday we are having a cruise in at Generations Pizza, the first one. So
I missed you at a wedding Saturday.
I know I was there.
Yeah.
Were you at the wedding?
I
No,
was.
no.
She could have been. She
I
was
could've
probably
been.
a.
Oh, I thought maybe
I
I thought
wasn't-
maybe she had imbibed too much. She didn't recognize Charlie was there.
Jared had class all weekend for his bounty hunting for his license. He had class
Oh, he's
all
going to be a
weekend.
bounty hunter.
Again, he always has been.
Oh, I
He
didn't
just
know
needs to
that.
get his license renewed.
Well, I definitely wouldn't
We
want
need
him
to have
coming
him on
after
the
me.
show
He wants to
sometime.
come on the show, but
We need to have him
it'd
on.
have to be like a Monday.
Well, we can
Okay.
do it someday. We can come in.
Okay. He
That'd be
wants to.
fun. As long as you don't try to bounty hunt me. Or
Put you in
He won't.
handcuffs, Charlie.
I'm not even going to go there. We're just going to let it go.
This is getting weird.
Everybody knows what I'm thinking now.
Is this family radio? I think.
Yes, it
yes. Okay. All right.
I let it go. Let it go.
Well, I mean, it is family radio, but remember, some of my most famous segments are those on the sex dolls that they
Okay,
manufacture.
stop saying that word.
Yes.
What?
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 Sex dolls, Charlie.
Oh, sex dolls. Yeah. You talking about the beaver?
No, no,
What?
no. The
Beaver.
the
he
beaver.
always likes to see that thing when
I
we
can
go
get it.
to
Hang
the
on a second.
Walmart
Let me get the
Creek.
beaver.
We ought to just set it up back behind us. Yeah. We,
Oh,
Oh,
I don't mean the stuffed one.
No,
When
we're
we
talking
go
about-
to the Beaver Creek Walmart, there's a giant beaver, and he likes to take pictures with it.
okay.
I'm not joking.
I don't think you are.
And
You could actually put him right in front of Sydney's computer. That'd be funny.
do we have to?
The beaver. There he
The
is, baby.
beeve. We've got our
There he
mascot,
is.
the beeve.
Maybe he's not going to stand up. I don't know.
Okay.
Stick one of them cans.
right,
underneath.
just
there we
put-
go.
Yeah.
Looks like he's
But you
taking
can
a.
take a poop.
He is
Looks like
healthy.
he's taking a dump right now.
Well, he's probably heard enough.
Here, let's see that thing. Let's see if we can help the beaver out.
Let's see. What did we name the beaver?
The beaver.
The beeve.
Was it the beaver? I thought it was like Bucky or Fuzzy or Furry or something.
There
Yeah,
we
he's
go.
having a
Now
he's
we
having
got
a
the
drink
beaver.
there.
The tall boy.
We got the beaver
Thank
now.
God.
Well, some of our listeners had asked when we were talking about introducing, our morning show back, whether the beaver was still here. We still have the beaver. We have the lion. We've got the only thing we don't have is that we have this big, huge ape that Bill brought in, and he's riding in the truck with him.
Oh,
now.
he's riding in the truck with him.
I think that's so he can ride in the fast lane or
That way he can be in the, what they call it, the carpool
the
lane,
carpool
right?
lane. Yeah.
All right. Well, what other topics did I have written down here?
Rick, I'm telling you what.
I tell you what, this bears a little discussion. Sorry, Beeve, I said bear. But anyhow, this bears a little discussion. Hong Kong.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Hong Kong.
Hong Kong.
But
They spray their rioters with like blue
Dye.
So they can
colored
go back
dye
and arrest
water.
That's
So
what
there's
Bill
that,
said that on
and
there.
Yeah.
Was
why
That's a good
are we
idea.
doing that?
Yeah, except
I
that,
like that.
except that the only thing I would say is if you're spraying a dye, does it coat the ground and buildings and
I mean, it's
do
in
people
water,
that
so I think
maybe
it's
are not
diluted a
rioting?
little.
I'm
do they-
going to guess it's like a rubber bullet or something that would have the dye capsule inside of it that you would, or like shoot like a.
Oh, well,
Is what I would
a
think.
lot of people were just saying paintball, but paintball paintball paint
still hurts.
washes off. Yeah,
that would hurt too.
Oh
Yeah.
man, yeah.
Yeah, paintball. Yeah.
Paintballs are.
We need to get a little more creative. We need to just fight the rioters more. I'm not talking like
not the protesters.
the rioters.
You define
yeah.
the difference.
Yeah,
the
when
the
they're
people that are
breaking-
actually causing destruction of property.
It's like, you can see people breaking the law and the police are right there and they're just letting them do it.
Well, I think they're trying to be restrained. I think they're trying to show that it really they have to push them. They have to
Everybody has
cross a
be
line.
restrained, though.
Yeah. Well, I think
Everybody.
that the minute you break the law, that's when the police should act.
Exactly.
And so if you stand in the street, you're breaking the law.
Let's go back to Hong Kong.
Yeah.
So Hong Kong now is not a separate country, basically, right? It never really was a separate country.
Well, I mean, it
a-
was when the British
It was
ruled it
separate
for
of
years.
China.
Yeah.
I mean, China was still owned them, but Hong Kong was allowed to have their free
They were supposed to be.
trade. And all
That's
that-
right.
all
Yeah,
that.
they were supposed to be free trade, part of the international community, and not under strict Chinese grip.
But
Freezing up.
Yep.
now they're.
I don't know why it does this.
You got me spelled wrong up there. It's Hargrave.
I know. I know.
All right.
It's just
There you go.
She's got
Trying to fix our computer.
2 master's
So
degrees
Hong
and can't
Kong,
spell.
what does
Yes,
that
I
what does
can.
that mean though
It's
for the
fine.
average bear?
Well, it
Yeah.
doesn't mean anything to any of us. I mean, other than if you look at, because not a lot of things are actually manufactured in Hong Kong. I mean, there's a lot of commerce that goes through
Yeah.
the many offices in Hong Kong, but most of the manufacturing is done on mainland China. So, from the standpoint of, do we notice anything? Probably not. Does the world economy notice something? Yeah, I think that it'll affect the world economy.
It'll make it worse, won't it?
Well, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it'll have a negative effect.
So
I think that the Chinese, they seem to be emboldened a little more with all the things that are distracting the United States to be able to do, to pull some things. And so I think that, they'll now we don't really, we don't have any kind of a pact with Hong Kong like we do with Taiwan. Now, if they were to go after Taiwan, which they also believe is part of their territory, we have a legally binding agreement with Taiwan that if they're attacked by China, we defend them.
really,
So that could be a flashpoint, whether they try to push, China doesn't have, when you compare its military strength to U.S., it's a drop in the bucket. They have 2 aircraft carriers. They've got, now the difference is the Chinese have some good military capability from their technology.
no, there you go. It's good. That just means when you turn it on, when I go live, it'll tell you. That's
Your battery good on your phone and everything?
all. Yeah, I think we're good. I think
We're
we're
good.
all good.
Thought we were.
And of course, we are broadcasting live on Facebook, on your Facebook, Charlie. We're also broadcasting live on WZAA LPFM.com. You can actually see us on YouTube on that channel. And then we're also broadcasting over the air here locally in Jeffersonville, Ohio.
About the YouTube, can you see it as it's going or after the show is done?
Both. You can.
Okay.
It's immediately available after the show because it basically what is actually live streamed is then available to the public after the show. So you can go back and you can watch it. If you've listened to us wherever you are and you want to actually see it, you can go back
Okay.
and do that.
right.
But it also has what's called a DVR capability, meaning let's say that you went to the channel, you could go back to the beginning of the channel right now and watch it from the beginning,
Oh, yeah.
even though we're still on the air.
That's
so
pretty cool.
it makes it kind of neat.
Very neat, actually.
Yeah. So, but anyway, certainly if you subscribe to our YouTube channel or like Charlie's Facebook page, and
Or both.
that way that's right. You'll get the
Both.
alerts whenever we're on the air. And right now it's about every Tuesday.
Right now, yeah. Now I go live some on my own just for my car show stuff, which I probably will later today. Cause
Oh, and you can throw some plugs in. I
want
mean,
to
obviously,
Thursday.
you talked about generations. Yeah.
I want to, Generations definitely is happening Thursday. Tonight's supposed to be Chubby's Pizza, but I can't get a straight answer from him. So I'm waiting. He's supposed to call.
That's one of
this
your
morning.
biggest car shows. Isn't
Oh,
it?
it's huge. Yeah, they'll have 100.
It's not really a car show. It's a
cruise-in.
cruise-in. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Wanna
then
get the tech-
Friday we should be down in Hillsborough for a cruise in down Classics Diner this week.
So does that look like a go?
Yeah, I think.
So basically, what you're saying is, even though there isn't anything official from the governor, these are going to take place.
Well, the restaurants are open. The way I always looked at it, if the restaurants are open, what the heck makes a difference where you're driving an old car to the restaurant or a new car to the
Well,
restaurant?
that's true. Yeah.
So that's my opinion.
Do you
on it.
space the cars or?
Well, you don't really have to as long as you space the people. As long as the people are sitting 6 feet apart, and I'll remind them of that. Hey, guys, we need to try socially distance. It's for those who don't. And if they don't do it, I'm not going to go out and be the
Social
the
distance police.
street rod police or anything. I'm just going to
Well,
say,
it's not. It's supposedly the onus is on the owner of the business to make sure that people
Right.
socially distance and that they adhere to all the health department rules.
right, and I will help them with that. I'll tell them, give them the announcements. But once again, even before the big socially distance, no one was following it. I went into Fiesta Veracruz on Cinco de Mayo. I ordered some food. And I was supposed to be ready. It wasn't ready. In their lobby, I bet there was 50 people within a 10 by 20 space
Waiting for the food.
waiting for their food.
Yeah.
So no one's
So,
social
and
distancing.
what's even crazier is, they expect that a lot of these people are going to wait outside. Well, if it's raining or if the weather's bad, and same thing with going into these, to some factories and things like that. When people were first going back to work, you'd see these huge lines of people lined up waiting to have their temperature taken.
Right.
And so they're lined up outside this factory waiting to get in to go to work, and I can imagine how much time it just takes to get in, so that you can go in and actually do your job. But then what happens if it's pouring down rain? You're going to stand out there in the rain and get soaked?
No,
It
probably
doesn't
bring
make
'em
any
into the
sense.
lobby,
There's nothing about any of this that makes any sense.
That's right. It doesn't. It is ludicrous.
Thank Amy Acton, Mike DeWine. I tell you, I'd
No,
like to. Any good lawyers out there? I will say this: is there any good lawyers that would like to, join me? I would be willing to sue the state of Ohio, the Clinton County Health Department, and anybody else who's been in our way of people trying to make money in this economy right now.
I think the ACLU should be all over.
I
this.
think.
But
I
why
mean,
isn't it?
Yeah, why isn't it?
I don't have the answer.
Well, because the ACLU is a communist organization. It's not
my
designed to protect the
goodness.
American public.
Why does everything have to be red with you?
Yeah. Well, no, I'm not. Red?
Red.
Red. Well, because if you're red, you're red. I'm red. I'm a Republican.
Republican.
Yeah.
You got two
If you're
Red
red,
to me,
if
red's
you're
a
red,
commie.
you're a commie, Kim.
But
Somehow I feel an inequality here.
Well, no, the ACLU has been very quiet on things that it
have to
should
agree.
be proactive on, and it's not.
I have to
Why
agree.
is that? Because they have an agenda like everyone else. That's the sad part about it. That's where you lose credibility. If you're across the board defending freedom and the Constitution, if you do it just for Democrats, or if you do it just for big business, or you do it for teachers and not plumbers, then you're not the organization you pretend to be.
well, that's
And
like the Black Lives Matter.
that's right.
It's
You
all
lose
lives matter.
your credibility. So and I think that's the problem, even with some of these arbitrary rules about social distancing and the things like that. Opening a pool but not opening a water park. Why?
Well, like even with the health organizations, you've got the WHO contradicting the CDC,
Right.
And
Well, the WHO's gone.
well, yeah, it's like everyone's contradicting each other. None of it makes any sense.
That's what it is.
Yeah. Well.
And all the experts are
chaos.
too.
Well, yeah.
Nobody knows which
You
story to
you
tell.
wonder about these so-called experts because and even the experts have changed their tune.
Yes.
And what's disconcerting about the state of Ohio and Amy Acton and Governor DeWine is the fact that they're not transparent. They're hiding a lot of the statistics, which would prove that not only did it work, or at least it was going away, because they want to keep it going. What's the end game? Is
Distraction.
is it to keep people
Makes you wonder.
locked down so that
Yes.
is it a push for mail-in voting versus people appearing in person? I mean, that's all gone out the window.
I think this is an experiment. See how far people are willing to let go of their constitutional rights in order to stay safe.
Well,
but
the,
look how fast they did it.
Stay
And look-
Safe Ohio order was supposed to expire on the 29th of
She
May.
redid it.
Then she extends it to July 1st on a day they don't have a press conference, and then
Yeah, it
they
was a
aren't
Friday
supposed
night.
to have on a Friday night at midnight on the
Are
day
you
they're not having a press conference, and they aren't going to have another one until a Tuesday of the next week. And
Right,
all
so
of these
today
riots
there'll be a press
erupt.
conference.
So
Yeah.
that's what they're going to be focusing on in their press conference, and they're probably not even going to mention the stay-at-home order.
So Charlie, they
being
may
extended.
open up more things today in their press conference. Then again, they may start to close more things because of all the people
Now, the
crushing
danger
against
of
each other.
businesses being open
Yeah.
because of
You-
the rioters.
You can't judge rural Ohio with what's going on in big city Ohio. That's. I wish they would come to that distinction, like make two different sets of counties. Okay, look, if you're in these counties where you've got over 25 deaths, you got to live by these rules for a while. If you're under 25 deaths and under, we're open. we're doing what we're supposed to.
Have you noticed on the interstate, because obviously we drive on the interstate every day back and forth here to the studio, and that's 7 days a week, but there is an inordinate amount of Pennsylvania and New York licenses on cars on the interstate. And I think they're fleeing the crush on them
Sure.
As far as in Pennsylvania and New York. And New Jersey's the same way, but I haven't really seen a lot of New Jersey. I have a few, but it just seems like they've escaped their cities and their state. Whether they're heading to Florida because Florida is basically open now, and that's the thing. Even with the states that have reopened basically everything, like Florida and Texas, there has been no appreciable difference in the amount of infections. There's been more diagnosed, but that's because the testing is, and that's why when Heatwave said that there were 2 that actually had been diagnosed with coronavirus, that you have to discern the difference with, are they actually sick?
Yeah.
Are they? And we've already found that the people that were put on ventilators because hospitals were paid more money if you were on a ventilator, actually it's killed them. The ventilators actually, made the situation worse because of the nature of the coronavirus. And so they were actually not helping those patients. They were literally, signing their death warrant.
This is going to go down in the history books as one of the biggest scams on the American people.
Can you imagine being a child 10 or 15 years from now and having to learn the history of 2020?
Exactly.
And how much you'd have to learn just for this one particular year.
Yeah, it's true.
Yes.
That's
I feel
true.
bad for them.
Well, and what's going to be, they're all going to be shaking their head because none of it makes really any sense. That's the sad part about it. Well, the only thing that makes sense to me, and I keep saying it, is we're in 2 different countries right now. And
So
why
do you think that we're ever going to be a country again? Because are we so divided today? And I'm not talking black and white, and I'm not talking necessarily Republican and Democrat, but people seem, and I don't know whether it's social media contributing to it, I don't know what the actual problem or what is the crux of the problem, but it just seems like, because how many people on social media have had friends that have, unfriended them because, they've said something that's...
I've unfriended several.
That's upset them or whatever. And it just seems like the divide is getting wider and wider, and I don't know what the root cause of that is.
I can tell you right now what it is. A lot of people, and this used to be a country built on faith and religion, and most people believing in one God, and that is gone. That is gone. If you probably took a poll today of how many people, I'm not talking about just Christian religion, I'm talking about all religions, how many people believe in God, a God, and how many people don't believe in a God, I would say, I bet it's close to 50-50 or less for the people that believe in a one true God. I mean, if you look at the founding fathers, God's in everything. God is in everything. And today, it's like I got in an argument with a guy, and I think I said this last week on Facebook, and we started arguing. I said, I finally figured it out. I said, the reason we differ so, because he's a college-educated man. I said, the reason we differ so much is because I believe that there is a God, and I believe there's faith, and I believe that, our destiny is pretty much been rode out. We're just living the life. When it's my time to go, it's my time to go. And he got in a big argument. Well, I wanted to get a big argument, but I said, you don't believe in God. Because in his statements before, he basically, by this corona thing, and he said, I can control when I'm going to die. When I'm ready to die, I'm going to die. And there are people that believe that. And to me, that just is crazy. Because, all of us could go out here today and get hit by a truck. You never know. And this guy's talking like, I'm in control. I can, make sure I can live longer and I can do this and that. And I'm like, really? Because that's just not the way I was. And I don't go to church every Sunday. I've went to church a lot in my life. I like church. I'm a believer. I should go more than I do. But I have my faith. You know what I'm saying? I have my faith. A lot of people don't go to church, but they have their faith because, I'll be honest, the churches have their problems too.
Oh, no question about that.
Like we did a car show 2 weeks ago, two Saturdays ago, and a lady I know there that goes to a local church there in Sabina, it's my Church of Christ. Besides, she was going to cuss me out over something. And I'm like, wow, it was really strange. It was just really strange because
She wasn't wearing her church face,
No,
Charlie.
I'm going to tell you what it was. They had a silent auction, and they wanted me to read the list of people that need to come pay for their silent auction stuff. So I was just reading the list. Hey, you guys owe for the silent auction. Go over there and do that. Oh, my gosh. I pay my bills. I do this. I'm like, didn't say you didn't. They just need you to pay for the silent auction items. That's it.
And that
I mean, it was almost a riot there.
I think that some people, once again, it goes back to being pent up for 2.5, 3 months. I think that some of these people probably, they worry about things and it comes out at the wrong times.
Man, I mean, I took my butthole pill at that car show because people kept asking me stupid questions, and so I just kind of give them stupid answers back. Like, we have this calendar I sell, for all the dates coming up of stuff going on. Oh, how you know all those dates are good? Well, I know about as much as you do, It's like, then I said, the only thing nice thing about buying the calendar, yeah, it's $20, but you have phone numbers you can call, find out if it's still going on or not. But I had like 3 or 4 people. Can you guarantee all those dates? No. Yeah, just being stupid.
Can you guarantee anything in life? I have people ask me all the time, hey, at least since this COVID stuff has gone on, people say like, hey, you shouldn't be leaving your house. You have an auto-NC and, you have all these illnesses. You see 11 different specialists. You shouldn't still be doing your journalism and going out and reporting on things. And like, that's crazy. You're putting your life in danger. Isn't that that's just insane? I'm like, well, I could die any other time, doing any other number of things.
Well,
like get hit by a car or,
in that case, you got to kind of just say
yes,
thanks.
I'm like, thank you. I appreciate you
I've
looking
talked
out
to
for
my
my well-being.
doctors,
My
talked to my
doctors, I
doctors,
still see them. They're like, well, you're risking your life going to a hospital. I'm like, well, I still have to see my medical professionals. But again,
Right.
you're not a doctor. Thanks for the advice. I will actually take the advice of my doctors.
Well,
Appreciate
they're
it.
saying that at least out of
It'd wear me down.
My
But
patience is like really thin with
I-
people
yeah.
in the first place. Anyone who knows me knows this. So I'm like, homegirl, take it down like 3 notches. Thank you.
Just let me get back to my point, though, and that is this. Most people, probably anymore, I would say the majority do not believe there's a God. And if you live your life like you're all self-controlling like that, you're going to see a lot of things like this happen. Because God is love. God, they want to, you want to help your fellow man. You want to do things.
I agree with that.
And if you're just for yourself, you're all for you. Well, you really don't care what the other person does. And that's the problem with our society right now. It's not so much religious differences, it's religion against no religion, I think.
Yeah, and for the people that maybe are agnostic or they're atheist or whatever, that doesn't mean that they're all bad people. That doesn't mean that they can't care about their fellow human being.
Just a different way of thinking.
And I think that that's the critical thing. I think that the people of faith tend to, because they have a faith of things have a pattern or they have there's a reason for things, that they tend to weather things better. That when there are things like the coronavirus or like the rioting or whatever, they have faith that that they will get through this, and so maybe that's helpful. It's the same way with people that have good relationships with their family members, with their children or their sister and brother, or I think that it's much easier when you have a family structure to be able to weather the things like this. When you don't have anyone, and you're sort of out there,
Kind of like you right
yeah,
now.
on
You got
your own.
wife, but I mean,
Yeah.
But I mean, to tie in with what you're saying, Charlie, I mean, I don't practice an organized religion,
Right.
but I definitely believe in a higher power. I mean, I would not be a year and a half
what
or
I'm
more
saying.
sober if I didn't have something out there looking out for me and something I believe in. I would not
you are
still
a
be here
believer, yeah.
with all my chronic illnesses if I did not have something out there for me to believe in, to keep me going, and I would not care about other people if
Right.
I didn't have something out there,
Perfect example.
So-
Yeah, you believe. You know, that's the thing.
I believe in something bigger than myself.
Right. Well,
That is, I don't know,
but
Yeah.
but you would go on the pro-religious side because you believe there is something.
yes.
That's what I am saying. There are many
I have
people.
faith in something.
there
Different
are-
faiths.
there
I mean,
are-
you know.
Well, yeah.
whether
but-
you're-
and there are
whether you're-
many. But there are, what I'm getting at, I'm not trying to say Christian, Catholic, whatever's, Muslims better. I'm just putting all Jewish.
Yeah.
They're all one in this, and there's a lot of people that don't believe in any of it. It's all hogwash to them. And that's where the issue lies. Believers against people who don't believe because they just think I'm going to do what I want to do and the hell with everybody else.
Not going to be accountable for it, and they're not going to.
And that's what you see in these rioters. If they were people of belief, they wouldn't be out there looting and stealing and I believe the protesters, a lot of them probably are believers because they raise their hands up. They're not trying to cause any problems. They're just trying to get justice for everybody. Just so everybody be treated the same.
I think that everybody. I don't know that there's. I mean, there I'm sure are people out there that that don't want justice for everyone, but I think they're very, a very small group of people.
No, I think it's a lot bigger than what you think. Because if you think about it for a second, why should these people have the same things I do? I've worked hard for all this all my life. They shouldn't just be handed that stuff. I mean, that's one example. Another example is the no good deed goes unpunished. It's like Wilmington. Wilmington has a great, see, I'm even saying, when I say great, I'm like laughing because I know some people be cussing me out right now. They do a lot for their homeless. But in return, what do they get? People stealing, people living in abandoned houses,
Kim's had a
taking
little
over
bit of
streets.
that.
Huh?
Haven't you had some squatters or some?
Oh my, yes,
Yeah.
at two different properties. Yes, it's been a
Of
nightmare.
course, were these people that were renting from you that decided to stay longer? Or were these
Uh-huh.
people that just broke into your property and actually occupied it?
Both,
Both. Yeah.
sir.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Both.
but you're right, Charlie. Sugar Tree Ministries, and we're for as small a town as Wilmington is, which is 10, 12,000 people, to have 3 shelters. Well, actually 4, because Sugar Tree does have a men's shelter right across the street from it. But to have the 3 shelters that we do, where women with children can be housed, where women can be housed, and then where men can be housed. That's very unusual for a city the size of Wilmington.
Well-
There's a lot of public service there and people that care, that try to help people.
Wilmington College does a lot with the homeless population.
And the government, though, to their dismay or whatever, they don't, it goes back, instead of a handout, let's have a hand up, They need to start, and this would ruffle some feathers, but 2 things. One, they need to bring back, like, psychiatric hospitals. I mean, mental institutions.
Yeah, instead of turning them all into prisons
Yes.
They need to
and then
they
putting
need to bring
people on the
back
street.
mental institutions, and they
where
also,
people can get treatment.
Yeah, and they also need to, they need to, and this sounds very socialistic, very left, but they need to come in, and with some of these houses that aren't being used, that are abandoned houses, city ought to just come in, take them over. There'll be a fund where the city can take them over. You're allowed to live here. We're going to give you 1 shot. You get to live here for like 3 to 6 months, and then we're going to put another family in there. But this is your boost to get going. Does that make sense? There's got to be some.
Like Habitat for Humanity. I mean,
Well, not let them live there forever, because then you're giving.
Not
But
building
give
houses.
again a hand up. Here, we're going to let you live here. Give you a chance, get your feet on the ground. I mean, as soon as you get homeless or whatever, as soon as you get an address, you go out to Job and Family Services. You get food stamps. You can get all these things that are given to you to help you with the hand up, but you got to have an address. If you don't have an address, you don't get any of it. And that's where there needs to be some way where they can. I don't even care if it's just a big apartment house where a homeless can go live there. You get 3 to 6 months, Now, if you screw up, do something stupid, commit a crime, a felony, or something like that,
Do drugs.
you're out. You get arrested, then you get to go to the hotel, Clinton County Sheriff. And then if you don't go on to prison, they need to have that option where they can put you in a mental institution for a time being, because there's too many people out there right now that if mental institutions were still available, they would be
So kind of like a halfway house.
Yeah.
Well, look at. I mean, the drug problem
I
creates a
think
lot
that
of
the drug and
mental
the
issues.
alcohol-
That
well,
would
I
create
think
kind of like a
and the
middle
same thing
ground, and they could
with
drug
ment-
test you
yes,
there as
and
well.
with mental issues, the drugs and the alcohol are like a self-medication.
Sure.
And that's how people wind up in jail. Usually, a drug or alcohol has exacerbated the situation somehow.
That's right.
Either they were drunk or high and went to go do something, or they needed to be high or drunk, robbed. Or,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But once again, it goes back to, unfortunately, we are more of a reactive society than a proactive society. And we react to things, so it's already after the fact.
Yeah, it's like the
preemptive strike.
It's like, do you have a gun to protect yourself, or do you wait 20 minutes for the police to arrive and they clean up the bodies?
it's like the halfway house idea, but do it before.
Yeah. And truly, people that have a drug addiction and alcoholism, they're not all, beyond saving. And so if you have treatment programs, you can put money into treatment programs, or you can put money into housing them in jails and prisons. And so if we're going to spend our tax dollars, what is better to
in
spend
jails
it
and
on?
prisons, I think a lot of people learn to be better criminals.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
You
In
know,
fact,
that it's an
they're
education.
exposed to a higher level of
That's what I
criminal.
mean to say.
Yeah, jails and prisons should be for the worst offenders, the people that are
Yes.
really people that should not be in the public.
They got the two criteria is to rehabilitate and punish, and like where is the line drawn?
Well, the
between that?
prisons and jails do not rehabilitate, so we know that's.
I just think they create more criminals.
Well, absolutely. So we've solved all the world's problems here this morning, haven't we?
Dave Heil says Clinton County Jail has Italian night on Tuesdays. The lasagna is 5-star. That's what he says.
Thanks, Dave. We
Thanks,
appreciate
Dave.
that.
Dave, I'd love to have Dave on here someday.
So would I.
But Dave, I tell you what.
Why don't you, Hiles?
Dave,
You'd be a great fit in with the zoo.
Dave and Rick.
Oh boy.
That
my.
would be interesting.
Are we
I
talking
mean-
about similar or opposite end of the spectrum?
Oh, no.
I don't know. His house is that.
Dave, I love Dave to death. And the thing about Dave is he can take a joke, like
Oh yeah.
like
he's
I put on his timeline the other day Hayden for president instead of Biden, because Hayden, he keeps hiding
Right.
all the time. He's a lot like him, but Dave is an interesting individual.
You mean Dave is a lot like him?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And
Similar
but
thoughts.
Dave's son is really neat. Dave's son's been on a couple national
He
TV
says, not a
shows.
chance in Hades unless it's wrestling night.
Wrestling, okay.
Wrestling.
Well, we have done some wrestling
Yeah,
here on
that-
Campus Nation.
Yeah, we have.
Get Hiles and the Heat Wave in here.
Yeah, I was
going
going to say maybe we get them in there.
That'd
they could
be
talk.
all right.
Well, I mean, Heat Wave is a liberal.
He leans a little left.
Yeah.
But he voted for Trump last
I mean,
night.
the thing that people should understand is we truly, that's the whole idea of diversity. Whether it's diversity in what you believe politically, we embrace it here. We don't. That doesn't mean we agree with everything that everybody, but at the same time, that's what we need more of in the country, and that is that people can actually come together and they can express an opinion and not, be ridiculed or personally attacked
Why can't
for
the
their opinions.
government do that? Like have a round table like they're supposed to do and fix all the problems just by having a meeting of the minds and have a compromise.
Because the middle must rise. The middle must rise. And no one's willing to do that because they're being paid off.
Oh, there's no question.
That's why.
But,
The middle must rise.
People don't go into public service for public service. They go in for self-enrichment, and that's the problem. It
money.
and it start. I mean, you look at the professional politicians, and we have a governor who's an example of that. After being attorney general, they it's like they switched hats when they finally get up to the state level. You know, they're attorney general for 4 years, they're secretary of state for 4 years. They finally end up governor for 4 years, and then they want to become a state senator. Now, our governor was actually a senator before he was a governor, but he wore a lot of hats. But those people that get into that position, they're not in it for public service. They're not in it to make great changes for the betterment of the citizens. So many times they're in it because they draw a paycheck, and it's pretty easy work. Let's face it.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's I don't know. I was in government, local government for a while, and I truly believe the harder government is the lowest. Because
you're closest to the citizens.
Public service worked well for Mayor Hargrave.
I did my 10 years.
Well, you were actually for a time, weren't you? The police chief. Or something
because they didn't pass.
Did you get the one bullet that Barney Fife had?
I didn't even take a gun with me. I show up to scenes. Clinton County Sheriff's Department was ready to kill me because I was telling them I'd be there, and I didn't even carry a gun. I just got out and I apprehended a couple people, put them in the back of the police cruiser, and they came peacefully, and I'm just like. Yeah,
I mean, what kind of lawbreakers were they? Were they
domestic violence?
Oh, okay.
Domestic violence stuff. Yeah.
And some of those are the worst kind. I mean, because when you get all that emotion going, it's
and I
pretty violent.
A couple of times I got them separated, and I said, "Look, the sheriffs are going to be here, but I'm going to tell them that you guys haven't done anything to each other that I've seen," which was true. And it's like, you just need to sit down and work it out here. I was always, and they hated it. Because they'd be calling, because I never carried the radio, I never carried a gun, I just showed up, if they need. That only happened for about a month and a half, then we put the income tax back on. But we let people experience what they voted for a month without police force. All it was the chief and me. Mm-hmm. And then, a couple places got broke into, and and people would yell at me, I say, hey, this is what you voted for. You're getting exactly what you wanted. And then after enough complaining, we just went ahead and put the 1% income tax back on. It's been on ever since. We just felt like it was a fair tax. You're not taxing people on, low incomes or homeowners that have been retired for years, whatever you make. I always think income tax or sales tax is a much fairer tax than property.
Oh, no question about it. There shouldn't even be a property tax. I think that, and it's the same thing with the federal government. There should be a national sales tax rather than actually the way that we currently. And it would take a lot of the power out of our legislators, and it would also.
Some states don't have sales tax.
It would eliminate, well, there's true, but they're very few. But it would also eliminate, the goings on as far as lobbyists and things like that, because our legislatures would not have the power of the purse any longer. And you couldn't just raise arbitrarily taxes, because if everybody is getting what they actually earn, and then and it's a fairer tax, because Charlie, as you were saying, if you had a national sales tax, if Kimmy bought a Mercedes and I bought a Ford, she would be paying for the Mercedes and I would be paying for the Ford. So, and there still could be waivers for low income people, or they'd get money back or whatever. Not everybody that.
So can I get a low income Mercedes?
Yeah, I think it's called a C class, isn't it?
It's called used. It's called, it's not.
Oh, is that what you got, Kim?
I've got a C240.
Okay, all right, yeah.
Well, it's a very nice looking vehicle.
When what is it, the 600 series or whatever? When you're in the 600 series, come talk to me.
This is
the S class. Is that what you're talking about?
Car is what I got. If there is such a thing, it's a luxury compact car.
Mine is a luxury death car. I like mine.
Well, the thing about your car, because driving a hearse, it doesn't really talk about where your status is in life, other than maybe you're getting close to the end of it or something. I don't know.
Well,
or you've got a very warped.
Could you go pick up people?
I could.
You mean legally?
Yes, I could.
Could you?
Yeah, if
you don't have to license the hearse.
No, if the family would request that they want one of my hearses, and I've told several funeral.
Well, that would
homes
make sense.
Yeah.
I could see a surfer dude like Dave riding the way with Dave. You go pick him up.
They're both working hearses. Yeah, they're both. I've had several people say, "Hey, I want to get your hearse."
What's a working hearse?
Well, I mean, it has rollers.
Yeah.
It has the pegs in where it stops.
Right.
So it's
So you could effectively, efficiently, without the body going out the back door and on the street.
It'll hold. Each one of them will hold a casket in there nicely.
Oh, you
And
actually
big
have a
one.
casket, don't you?
I've got one that's it's just a homemade. It's Garsophagus, I think is what they call them. It's the one where it's like what you see in the old vampire type movies. It's kind of like
And you actually have a
triangle.
skeleton that resides in
Hermie
there.
von Frankenstein. You can follow him on Facebook, by the way.
He's got his own Facebook
Yeah,
page.
he's got his own Facebook. Yeah, look him up. See how many
I
followers
don't even have
he
my own
has.
Facebook page.
Hermie.
Oh, I do, I guess.
I tell you, I use it too, like for a lot of goofy stuff, like stuff I don't want to put on my regular.
He's not
Facebook.
animated, though, or anything. He doesn't rise out of the coffin.
No, not yet. That's a good idea. Though.
Okay, there you go.
Actually, my next project, if I ever get any money back again, which the coronavirus has killed me money-wise.
You don't mean like from the government. You mean like earning it.
Well, the government, give us a nice little check here, which we did get and we used. But the thing is,
They don't like us.
If I'd been working, I would have made
A lot more
probably
money.
twice that.
Yeah,
Two
and
or
that's the
three
sad
times
part
that.
about it.
And I do have to go do my fingerprints tomorrow though for the Census Bureau. I just wonder about doing that.
Oh,
now.
you mean to actually go out and talk to people
Yeah.
about the census?
Yeah. So, I'm going.
So did you fill all that out and send it in?
I've got to go get the fingerprints tomorrow. and
No,
then
I mean, did you actually fill your census
I
report
never
out?
got one.
Didn't you? Mine is over there. I've never filled it out. It's sitting
Well,
over there.
don't, and then I'll get you when I
Yeah.
start doing my
Yeah,
deal.
yeah. Well, be careful because
Good luck coming up our
you come
driveway.
up our driveway. You
I'll
never know
just
what'll
get you
happen.
right here. I know where you live. 40. They pay you for 40 hours. I'll put a little plug in for it. It's $18.65 an hour.
Oh, that's not
And
bad,
they pay you for 40 hours of training, regardless.
right?
And then at the end of the training, they say, "Yep, you can do it," or "No, you can't do it." So,
Well, what would constitute you couldn't do it?
well,
I guess
physical
if you were a dingle dong.
physical things would, if you can't climb steps, that would be something.
You can't chase people down.
Well, I'm not going to
You
chase
can't
people now.
kick indoors.
I've done little surveys like that before. When I was mayor, we had to go door to door and talk to people.
Right.
And
Kim, did you fill out your
I
census?
want to tell you what.
Kim, did you fill out your census?
No, I did not.
The best one I went to, the best door I went and knocked on. I'm knocking. This lady comes over. Oh, hey, wait, she's all dressed up in her nice negligee.
Negligee.
She smells good, and she thought
She smells good.
she thought I was her boyfriend or something. Coming
How old was she?
Ma'am, I just need your information because we're going to try to get a new storm sewer put down there.
Gosh.
Do you mind answering a few questions? And I just like, yeah, she did it real quick. I knew her. She was a former student, but I'm just like, it was bizarre. It was bizarre.
So she was expecting someone else, Charlie?
She wasn't expecting me, that's for sure. No. When she saw me, she kind of got embarrassed.
So have you gotten some idea of what you're going to have to do to take the census? Because, I mean, normally they only send people out when people don't respond
Right.
by filling out the actual
Well, I haven't
census.
So you.
responded.
Yeah, well, I mean, and technically it is the law that you have
It
to
is the law,
fill it out
written into
and
the
send it in.
Constitution.
Yeah.
Well, and I've
yeah.
told them, the people who I interviewed me and somebody else who tried to get me involved with, I said, hey, I haven't filled mine out because I never got one. Because I would have filled it out and sent it right back in.
That's right. You're going to get 6 ballots to vote this
I
fall.
put 2 of them for both my properties census. What, I just want to give them to you? You want to count them?
I can do that. Just hang on for about a week because I after I go get fingerprinted tomorrow,
All right.
which is odd. I'm going to Chillicothe
Just bring
to
it
get
next Tuesday.
fingerprinted
Okay.
at Office Max.
Yeah, we'll all do all our
We'll
census.
do all census
We'll
on
Right
do
here.
there.
census
This,
right
do,
here.
we'll do this. Do our census.
Well, wait, I
right
may
here
not
next
have my
Tuesday.
stuff ready yet, but you can give them to me, and then we'll go from there. I think I'm going to be a census.
Well, I got to see your identification before I give you any census
That's something I have
information.
to take care. I have to take my birth certificate and my driver's license, and we'll take my Social Security card, which up until about a month ago, before I started cleaning, I didn't know where 2 of those 3 were, but I got them all.
Well, now have you
I'm ready to
have you
go.
gotten your
No.
real ID license yet?
What do you need for that? Because you just got your license.
Yeah.
renewed.
Okay. So I had. They need, I think, 2 pieces of information that actually show that you live where you say you live.
Okay.
They need.
Where you say you live?
Yeah. Well, where you're supposed to be living, and it's interesting because I live on a lane, a private lane. Charlie.
Yep.
And there are 4 other houses on the lane. And back in the day, when the post office was smaller and Wilmington was smaller, this was a farm, and so as houses were built along this private lane, they all had the same address, and
We all have the same house number.
yeah, so we all have the same house number, and so each house is designated by a lot. Ours was, I thought, C, but now I find out it's D.
They've just changed this.
Yeah, but at the same time, not too long ago, one of my neighbors said, "Yeah, they've given us all actual numbers now," which
No wonder you haven't got your check yet.
yeah. So well, that's true, and not only that, my son, who has my name, I guess I gave it to him, but anyway, my son also he changed his address from my address to his address in Hillsborough. So he was
living
getting
with us
he was
and
getting
moved
some
to
of my mail.
Hillsborough.
And so all that, who knows where our stimulus check, although Sydney's name would be on the stimulus check we filed together. So I would assume that, it would be kind of hard to send a check with 2 people's name on it to, so I don't know. I don't know how it
You're
works.
talking about the
We're
same.
talking about the government.
You're talking about the government.
Well, that's
yeah.
true. And the post office isn't much better.
But then our
That is the
neighbor across
government.
the street is also a mail carrier and told us we still do have the same house number, but with
A
a
different
lot
lot number.
but a different lot
Yeah,
letter
he has our lot
than
number,
we
and
had
we had his.
originally had. It's
Yeah.
not C, it's D.
But the thing is, when I took this information to the BMV, first of all, I had some title work that I had to do, and then I had to get some license plates. And then I said, what the heck? My birthday is this next month, which that was in May, the end of May. So I got the real ID. And in getting the real ID, you have to have a little bit more information. So you have to have those, designating where you live. And you also have to have, not necessarily a birth certificate, but you have to have something with your actual birth date on it. You have your driver's license suffices as long as it's, still in force as one of the forms of identification. And you can show them your Social Security card, but I don't think that has as much weight as some of the other things.
Right.
So I had my I get Social Security. So I had my statement at the end of the year, which had both my name, my Social Security number. It had all the information on it, including where I lived. But the lady at the BMV said, well, both your pieces of paper don't have lot C, so we're not going to be able to put the lot number on it. I said, it doesn't matter. Just
Don't put the lot number
we don't need the lot number on it. She said, well, okay. So anyway, my new license, which I haven't gotten yet, I mean, it's, and they
It's just got the house
they
number,
give you a
but we'll
piece of
see if it
paper until
actually
you get
gets
your real
delivered.
license plate or license card. And then they also, what do they stamp? They don't stamp the card. It's something that actually
They like hole punch
puts
it or
holes in it that says Ohio, so that people know that your old license, you've applied for the new license. So when the new license
and they
comes,
mail it to you.
right, which is
Crystal got hers.
yeah, which is totally different now. That you get it mailed rather than actually receiving it. I don't know whether that'll ever change or whether it'll always be that way from here on out. I don't know. It just to me is more confusing, and then you also could get it lost.
Well,
then what do you do?
And there's
'Cause I have the
something.
new ID. Like I got mine in January, and they mailed it to us. It came to our house.
It looks more like I don't know.
Doesn't some of this have to do with like if you want to be on an airplane though or something?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
if
I
you
already
don't
have
get
a
if you don't
passport, so it's
if
not
you
like
don't
I
get what
need
they
to-
call the compliant ID, that's what it's called.
Is that what you got?
Yes. You can have the choice of whether it's the compliant ID. The difference is if you don't have a compliant ID, you can't get on a bus, you can't get on a plane, you can't get on a train.
Passport trumps all.
I have
That's
a
true. If you've got a
passport,
passport,
yeah.
then you don't have to worry about a compliant ID.
So I should get a compliant ID.
Yes, or a
'Cause I don't-
passport.
Yeah,
I don't
once
have a
you
passport.
then-
I've never. I've been
Well,
out of
Sydney's
the
got
country
two passports.
I've been out of the country
Sydney
twice.
has a U.S. passport, and Sydney also has a European passport because she's a dual citizen. She's a citizen of France, and she's a citizen of the U.S. So, Anyway, she's been trying to
That's
drag
why
me to
you
France.
use Pepe Le Pew over here.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Well, actually, French is her native language. That's her first language. English is her second. So, anyway.
You should speak some French for us. Just
Oh,
for
she
fun.
could. Yeah. Well,
Someday, not
no.
today,
I mean,
huh?
it's interesting
Don't
when
make
we
me
watch. You know, they have the subtitles, and when we watch some things, and they speak some French, and of course, she knows exactly what they're
It's
saying.
funny because we were watching a show the other day and the subtitles were wrong, and I was like, the subtitles are wrong. And he was
Yeah, what
like,
they were actually
"Well,
saying
the
was not
subtitles
what
are
they had in the
wrong." I was
subtitles.
like, no, they're wrong.
Yeah, so.
That's weird.
Those kinds of things piss
I
me
bet that.
off.
I bet that
like,
messed with your mind.
I'm
Didn't
like-
it? Yeah.
Well, she was speaking French when she was young, before she actually started speaking English. So, that imagine that.
These kinds of things just annoy me though when I see them in movies. I'm like, you could just tell the person to reread the script correctly or fix the subtitles.
One of the two, huh?
You
Yeah.
have two options here. Either would be fine.
Man, there's
With
something
me.
I want to ask you though. Now
Okay.
I'm not going to.
Oh,
Oh.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm sure everybody's asking this too. I wonder if she's a good French kisser.
Well, you'd have to ask me, Charlie.
I
Did
guess
say
you-
We're
that?
going to ask about a French maid uniform.
Oh!
I guess you would have to ask Rick that.
No. I would never go that far down in the rabbit hole.
But it is interesting, the fact that that she and of course Sydney is highly educated. So I mean, she's
And she still married you.
and she's still married. Can you imagine that? Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You can tell we're getting close to 10 o'clock. We're getting silly. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
Oh, guys, I found out I will not be starting law school in the fall because they start the end of September and I don't graduate till the beginning of October.
Oh,
And
so
they will not
close.
allow me to have the small
You can't
overlap.
overlap.
Even though I meet all of the admission requirements, I cannot have the small overlap.
And it's
so-
interesting because her current professor, because she goes to Full Sail to get her second master's degree, and her current professor, who had worked at ESPN and worked in media,
She's an entertainment lawyer, and she has an entertainment law firm now that
In
she's
Florida.
retired from ESPN in Florida. And she was talking to me about this, and she was like, "That pisses me off so much." There's only two things that get me pissed off: entertainment law and figure skating.
she's a
'cause
skater.
She used to cover the Olympics for NBC, figure
Wow.
skating specifically.
What's her name?
Her last name's Foley. First name
that's
Christy.
her married name, though, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
She knew
So-
Tanya Harding and Nancy Carey. and all them, did she?
I don't know.
But anyway, so I mean, that was what we had talked about when Sydney was talking about going to law school, was that she wanted to go to law school with something to have to do with the media and that kind of thing, because that is a wide open area. But so we may have to wait a year, I guess.
They told me to apply for fall of 2021. I was like, okay, you're
We
gonna
get to
have
take a
now.
break.
Womp womp.
I know. Yeah, that's what I was shooting for. is
You get
fall
to
of
take a break.
2021.
Oh, then we're going to have two lawyers here on either side of me. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Well, I may just
Oh,
go to
boy.
med school by then. I don't know.
Med school.
I mean, I don't have any
Nah, you're not gonna go to
aspirations
med
to go to
school.
med school, but I'll get really bored if I don't go to school for that long.
Yeah, well, I think you should wait
I
for
have
law
to
school.
figure out something to do
We
with
could
my
use you a
time.
lot more. I mean,
I
I
have to
hope
figure
that
out
we won't
something to
need
do
a
with my
doctor.
time by then.
How about get a job as an online professor?
I mean, I'll think about it.
Whatever. She has looked at employment as with social media, online, things like that. She was supposed to talk to someone yesterday but it was an insurance company in Columbus,
It's
and
Bill Ray that calling.
we're gonna let Bill. But I told her, I said, Sydney, their marketing means they want you to become an insurance agent. So she decided to decline their.
I could see you being a Southern State online instructor or Wilmington College online instructor.
Well, she definitely couldn't be any liberal college online instructor. She'd tick off all the
I
poor
worked
students.
in an ADA department at a university for a short time. I will emphasize short time.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of.
It was a liberal arts.
she's not a
university,
people person,
obviously.
and particularly
I
when-
don't do well with people. that I don't agree with for very long.
Yeah, but you're online. You're in your own little world. You're not around them all the time.
Well, you don't have to. You don't
I mean,
have to
can you
shake
just
hands with them.
imagine me like grading people's papers that like
you would teach
I would
curriculum
be
that you
so
didn't
And there would be a bias.
to some
Yeah.
extent, and then like
Which
reading
what does
their
that
work.
what
and,
does that
like,
tell you about
not
conservatives
wanna
that
wipe my butt with it and
yeah.
then like give them my honest feedback? I don't.
yeah, I think that she
Probably
probably
not
it's
a
a
good idea.
wise decision.
That's
so.
why you put in your bio how you feel about
Super
different things.
conservative. Stay out of my
Well, you know,
classroom
the
with your
interesting thing is
liberalist
a
ideas.
lot of her
I mean,
professors
I
are
don't-
conservative, so at least they appear to be conservative. And even though they worked in media, like was it a lady that was with the New York Times? But a lot of people, you'd be surprised, that work at Full Sail are sports media people. They've worked at ESPN or they've worked at some kind of sports network. But anyway, well, that is we're about
It's
ready to wrap up
9:58.
another
Yeah.
morning zoo.
When the beef hadn't said a word. How you like that?
Didn't
iced tea,
take a
beef?
drink at all.
I like the iced tea.
Yeah.
How you like Sydney? How you like Sydney? I love
Stuffed
Sydney.
animals freak me out. They really like give me the heebie-jeebies.
What about Kim? Oh, Kimmy.
So anyway,
The beaver down.
The only thing worse than stuffed
Stop
animals are
touching
clowns.
the beaver.
clowns,
So,
clowns.
Yeah, the only thing worse than the beaver would be Bill Maines. Just kidding, Bill. Just kidding.
He's probably
Well,
watching.
and it wasn't Bill Mahanes that brought the beaver in.
It was Mark Klingler.
That's right. Mark Klingler brought us the beaver.
I have to ask a question. Are you related to Bill Mahanes? Hell no.
So you never know who will be on next week. Probably
We'll try
the four
to
of
talk
us.
to this. Well, and I'll try to talk to this Jesse Littleton, see if he'd be interested in coming in. He may be working at this time of day, though. He's the medical marijuana dude, and if
Can
I'll
we get
try-
some free samples, huh, Kim?
What would you ask me for?
No, are you
Charlie's
interested?
idea.
Are you interested in some free
I have
samples?
never done that in my life.
Done what?
I've never done any drugs. I never even smoked a cigarette. That's how sheltered of a life I've lived. No pipes, no cigars, no nothing. My parents smoked when I grew up, and I hated that smell. Just hated that smell.
Mrs. Hargrave smoked.
A little bit, yeah.
I
she did.
would not ever have thought that.
Yeah,
Oh
both
my
of them
gosh.
smoked, but they both quit, which was good. I'm glad
She was
they
my
did.
mom's piano teacher.
Yep.
Well, that's another morning zoo that we'll talk about that. This has been WZAA 106.9
Have a great day,
LPFM in Jeffersonville. Have a good
See
day.
you later. Facebook Live. Have a good one.